Chapter 747. Wu Tong said. But they are hugging each other. Qin Guang nodded. These two are really going all out. The more I look at them, the more suspicious they are. But they are biting each other. I'm regretting eating the lunchbox just now. Oh my god, my eyes are burning. Ouch. They're leaving. Qin Guang said firmly. Follow them and arrange for the people outside to take action. These two must be up to something. Boss, these two have entered the hotel. Fine. Let's barge in and see what they are doing. I have a leader who thinks they are suspicious. After waiting for a few minutes, a hysterical roar came from the walkie-talkie. What is the meaning of this? What's wrong with two men dating? Is it against the law? I want to lodge a complaint. Lodge a complaint against your leader. Lodge a complaint. Boss, what should we do? Did you get the wrong person? Wu Tong coughed. You guys handle this. I'm still busy. Let's talk another day. Another day. Bye. Turning off the earpiece, Wu Tong looked at Qin Guang in silence. Is this the camouflage technique? I think they are quite cute. Instructor Qin. Nice to meet you, Teacher Wu. Contrasting cuteness. Wu Tong was still hugging Qin Guang, but her hand was pinching his waist. All right. Go back to the back of the stage. Don't stay here and cause trouble. Bye. Trust me one more time. This is the last time. I'm not joking. I'm serious. So you were not serious just now? I was serious just now, but I overexerted myself. This time let's get closer and listen more before taking action. Fine. I will trust you one more time. But don't joke around. Luckily we were in the hotel or else we would have alerted them. I know. I am more nervous than you. Qin Guang himself was also in a mess. There were only about 20 people in the group and they didn't have any faith points. Their accuracy should be especially high. Who would have thought that these good gay friends wouldn't play by the rules? Seriously, if you guys are gay, just stay at home. Why do you have to come out and interfere with my line of sight? Well, in a sense this did not seem to be bad news. If those two were still his fans, then that would be really scary. Qin Guang and Wu Tong began to walk around the square again. This time they targeted 3 men who were gathered together in a queue. As soon as the 2 of them got closer, they immediately noticed something unusual. The 3 of them looked like university students, but they were clearly much stronger than the average university student. It was just that the clothes they wore were loose, which hid their overly strong bodies. At this moment the 3 of them were chatting and laughing, pointing at the beauties in the crowd from time to time. It was undeniable that their acting was really good. They even fooled Wu Tong, the other secret agents, and even the inner force martial artists. Wu Tong had paid attention to the 3 of them for a short while, but from afar she could tell that they were talking very loudly and did not deliberately avoid the people around them. That was why Wu Tong eliminated the 3 of them from the list of suspicious targets. However, their acting skills could not fool the eyes of the world-class actor Qin Guang. Although their eyes were looking at the beautiful girls, there was no lust in the depths of their eyes. Instead, there was a sense of coldness. As for Wu Tong, what really made her wary was that after she quietly got closer, she suddenly realized that she could not understand what the 3 of them were talking about. Indeed, they were talking loudly. Even though she was 4 to 5 meters away from the crowd, she could still clearly hear every word they said. However, Wu Tong could not understand a single word. I was tricked. I should have gotten a little closer just now. No, if Qin Guang had not pointed out the 3 of them first and made Wu Tong think that there was something wrong with them, even if she really could not understand what they were talking about, she would at most think that they were some ethnic minority or speaking some dialect, because their pronunciation was at least 70 to 80% similar to Chinese. China was a vast land with abundant resources. There were hundreds and thousands of dialects in different places, so it was normal for the pronunciation to be very different. For example, when people from Beijing went to Denghai, they would definitely be confused. When people from Dechuan went to Jiangnan, they would also not understand a single word when listening to Wu Nong's soft language. For example, in Sun Xiaoxuan's hometown Wumian City, the people there called the restaurant Fadi in their dialect. In the ears of people from Dechuan, it was Fadi. Who would have thought that? There's something wrong with these 3 people. Wu Tong did not dare to frown. She also showed off her acting skills and smiled at Qin Guang's ear in puzzlement. At the same time, she turned on the walkie-talkie again and emphasized the situation of the 3 people to the other colleagues. However, a strange smile appeared on Qin Guang's face. You're wrong. If they're not guilty, then there's something wrong with them. 100%. But don't be in a hurry to act. Let me listen to them. You can understand them? Wu Tong looked at Qin Guang in disbelief. Qin Guang's eyes, hidden behind the mask, were full of smiles. Of course, I can only say that this is too interesting. This world's breaker is not simple. What language are they using? The pronunciation is similar to Chinese, but the meaning is completely different. It's not a Latin language either. I know English and have interacted with other languages, but this is an indigenous language of Africa. It belongs to the Tubamuru tribe. The Tubamuru tribe that originally used this language have probably disappeared in the chaos of war. In the past, I thought that there were less than 100 people in the world who could speak Tubamuru. Today I've learned something new. Qin Guang said calmly. It was undeniable that the World's Breaker was an internationally renowned assassin organization that was different from the rest. The leader of the World's Breaker had great foresight. He actually thought of learning this dying Tubamuru language and taught it to his core members. Regardless of whether it was a live communication or a phone call, they could use this special language. Even if they were being monitored or bugged, they wouldn't have to worry about information leaking because no one would be able to understand it. It was even possible that the Tubamuru tribe that taught this language to the World's Breaker had all died under the butcher knife of the World's Breaker. In this world, other than the members of the World's Breaker, no one else would be able to master Tubamuru language. This was a unique communication method that was almost impossible to crack. It was even more insane than encryption and more convenient to communicate with. Although Tubamuru was an indigenous language, it had its own system. It had a strict structure and its pronunciation was similar to Chinese. Every word had a different pronunciation and meaning. It was also very easy to create new words. The World's Breaker's plan was perfect. However, they were unfortunate enough to meet Qin Guang. Coincidentally, Tubamuru language was within the 4,978 languages that Qin Guang knew. For the sake of a flawless disguise, they purposely spoke loudly. However, all of their words fell into Qin Guang's ears. This feeling was like a beautiful woman wearing thick clothes walking on the street, but everyone on the street was wearing see-through glasses, and everyone could see that her straight chest was actually padded with 3 layers of silicone pads. As sad as that. Wu Tong's eyes widened as she looked at Qin Guang in disbelief. How did you know? Tubamuru? What's that? Qin Guang didn't have time to answer her. Instead, he shushed her and said softly, there are a total of 8 of them. None of them are armed. Currently, none of them have entered the venue. Then he didn't care whether Wu Tong believed him or not. He continued to listen. F***CK, quickly get someone to change the seats in the gallery. The 7th seat in the 3rd row, the 5th seat in the 7th row, VIP area 107. Qin Guang's expression changed slightly as he listened. He quickly pointed out 8 seats. It turned out that the World's Breaker had been eyeing the National Gallery of Art since the beginning of the planning for his piano concert. As early as 5 days ago, they had already made their move. Through their planted spies, they first secretly damaged a portion of the chairs in the venue. They made it look like they were damaged naturally. Then it was the supplier's turn. Even the supplier themselves didn't know that the chairs they had replaced were stuffed with something. Therefore, the person in charge of the venue's maintenance did not suspect the company that had been working with them for a long time. Therefore, without anyone noticing, the 8 chairs that had been stuffed with something appeared in the gallery. As for the detonation device, it was very simple. It was to use a mobile phone to release a special frequency sound wave that the human ear could not identify to trigger the bomb. The seats that the 8 people had bought were near the 8 chairs that had been tampered with. Once the bomb was triggered, all they had to do was press the audio button on their mobile phones at the same time to complete the detonation. Don't act rashly and alert the enemy. While they haven't gone in yet, quietly replace the chairs with the bombs. After that, we'll make our move. The rest of them are nothing to be afraid of. Wu Tong nodded skeptically and immediately followed Qin Guang's instructions through the walkie-talkie. About 10 minutes later, reports came in one after another. Just as Qin Guang had expected, the 8 chairs were really loaded. Boss, the 8 high-explosive biological bombs are all sealed in plastic bags that are completely odorless. No wonder our police dogs couldn't sniff them out. Have they been moved? Yes, all of them have been moved. Very good. Tell the others to calm down and don't show any changes in their emotions. Wait for my orders. After hanging up the phone, Wu Tong looked at Qin Guang suspiciously. You actually got everything right this time. Qin Guang shrugged. Look at what you're saying. I didn't make any mistakes, okay? What happened to the couple just now? That was an accident. I was just trying to lighten the mood. Don't mind the details. Now that the rest of them have become toothless tigers, should we? As Wu Tong spoke, her eyes drifted to the 3 people not far away who were still talking loudly, not knowing what had happened. It was not difficult to identify the other 5 people. Among the 20 or so people Qin Guang had pointed out earlier, the 5 were also young and looked very ordinary. However, compared to ordinary people, they had an extra murderous aura. At a glance, they might be overlooked because of their excellent acting skills, but with a preconceived notion under continuous observation, they would eventually give themselves away. Moreover, they all had one thing in common. The clothes they wore were relatively loose, all to cover up their overly muscular bodies. If Wu Tong had always had doubts about Qin Guang's ability as a special agent, after this incident, she was already shocked by Qin Guang. Thinking back to his past, Wu Tong only had one thought in her heart. This guy was really omnipotent. Therefore, before she even realized it, she had already subconsciously treated Qin Guang as her master. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can hear anything out of the ordinary. In less than 5 minutes, Wu Tong received another message from her earpiece, saying that the Shattered had contacted the Security Bureau again, requesting for a negotiation and information on Xuelin. Unlike the last time, the Shattered's threat this time was simpler and more straightforward. This was what they said. We heard that you Chinese like the number 8, so we've prepared 8 surprises for you. You don't have much time left. Otherwise, to borrow an ancient Chinese saying, we'll congratulate you on making a fortune. The corner of Wu Tong's mouth curled up slightly. If it was before, she would have been so anxious that her eyebrows would have been on fire when she heard such news. But now she had just defused 8 bombs, and the other 8 gangsters were already under strict surveillance. Everything was under control, and the threat of the world shatter made her want to laugh. After listening to Wu Tong, Qin Guang could not help but want to cover his mouth and laugh. Alright, I don't even need to cover my mouth with a mask. By the way, what kind of place is Mount Baral? Why can't I find it on the internet? Qin Guang lowered his head and played with his phone. Wu Tong thought for a long time. I only know of a city in the southwest that used the name Baral. Could it be that place? Forget it, we'll look into it later. Let the internal force experts from the general headquarters do it, lest they resist. By the way, I have a request. What is it? Leave no one alive. But believe me, you won't get anything out of them. I'm even sure that if you give them the slightest chance, they'll spread the news that they've inexplicably been exposed. That way they might discover the fact that the Tubamuru language has been exposed. Therefore, instead of pursuing more unrealistic information, it's better to let them die a quick death. That way we can make them fall into the same pit again. Wu Tong looked at him again. You've become more decisive than before. Qin Guang curled his lips. That depends on who I'm dealing with, don't you think? I don't have the slightest bit of mercy for the world breaker. That's true. Let's do it. The two separated. With an internal force expert holding the line, it was impossible for anything to go wrong against 8 unarmed members of the world breaker. Therefore, Qin Guang didn't need to pay attention to them anymore. The poor members of the world breaker didn't know that not only did they fail to get any information about Xuelin, but they also exposed the name of Mount Baral. Although inner force martial artists were not very competent as secret agents, they were good at scheming. It was not difficult for them to shatter a person's heart and lungs with a seemingly casual slap on the back. 10 minutes later, the 8 experts from the shattered world, including 3 core members, silently fell to the ground. The crowd was too noisy. Falling down without any warning would only make people think that they had fainted because of the crowd. The organizers reacted too quickly. In less than 30 seconds after these people collapsed, many medical staff wearing white coats rushed out and carried them away. No one knew that the moment the 8 people collapsed, their hearts had stopped beating. After a short commotion, everything returned to silence. The chairs in the art gallery had been secretly changed. This little commotion was like a stone thrown into a lake. It only caused a few ripples before it quickly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 748. There was a saying that went, "The reason you can't see the darkness is because someone is standing in front of the darkness and blocking it behind them." Wu Tong led more than 30% of Beijing's elite police officers and more than a quarter of the top secret agents. Coupled with Qin Guang's godly performance, they managed to kill the threat of the world breaker in the cradle. That was why this seemingly peaceful piano performance could continue. Everything seemed to be playing down, but in fact, if there was even the slightest mistake, all danger could not be strangled in the cradle before the performance officially began. If the 8 bombs continued to be hidden like this, the consequences would be unimaginable. After the incident, Wu Tong broke out in cold sweat. She had underestimated the world breaker's madness. According to past experience, although the world breaker was trying to cause a ruckus in Beijing, they wouldn't simply kidnap civilians to create a terrorist attack. In China, there was a saying that went, "Those who offend China will be punished no matter how far they are." The world breaker should know that if they really dared to blow up the building today, they would face the craziest revenge from the entire country. But this time they seemed to be really anxious. Even so, they were still somewhat fearful. Just like how they took the initiative to communicate with Qin Guang previously, it showed that they were still focused on negotiation, and their arrangements could be considered flawless. However, they never expected that Qin Guang would actually know the Tubur Muru language, which caused them to fail miserably. Fortunately, they managed to escape unscathed today. Qin Guang sat at the back of the stage with his fists clenched tightly. He was thinking the same thing as Wu Tong. Because of Wu Tong's optimistic estimation, he had let his guard down. He didn't expect the other party to make such a big deal out of it. According to the report from the Security Bureau, if the 8 bombs were to explode at the same time, the National Art Gallery might not be razed to the ground, but it would definitely collapse. At that time, the number of casualties would definitely be in the thousands. He didn't dare to imagine that scene. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. Mount Boral, right? I'll remember it. This time he really suffered an unexpected disaster. This matter clearly had nothing to do with him. Moreover, it was the world breaker who had been looking for trouble, and he didn't even take revenge. But these bastards actually dared to put bombs in the crowd. He could still remain calm in front of Wu Tong, but when he requested for the 8 members of the world breaker to be killed, he had already lost control of his emotions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have interfered with Wu Tong's decision under normal circumstances. After all, it was Wu Tong's duty as the commander. However, Wu Tong didn't know that he was still joking around and thought that he was really as calm as he pretended to be. He had thought of telling Xuelin about Mount Baylor, since there must be a way to contact that fellow. But in the end, Qin Guang decided to hide this matter in his heart. Furthermore, he even informed Wu Tong before he left. Unless the higher-ups decided to send a large force, he shouldn't send Xuelin there to die. No one knew what Qin Guang was thinking at this moment. However, it definitely wasn't a good thing for the shattered world. The 5 masters were still looking forward to getting Nightingale. Nobody knew what Qin Guang was thinking. Nobody thought that Qin Guang was bragging. Since he could organize this concert on such a large scale and put $1.2 million in front of them without batting an eyelid, it meant that he could really buy Nightingale. Raven Horde began to tap his fingers agilely on the table. Although he was already 60 years old, years of perseverance in playing and good self-care had allowed him to maintain abundant physical strength and excellent mental state. He began to get serious. The other 4 were no longer his juniors. At this moment, in order to get Nightingale, he had already regarded the other 4 as his competitors. In terms of fame, perhaps he would be more famous, but who could guarantee that Perez, Christina, and the other 2 wouldn't perform exceptionally well on the spot and play the most perfect music? Fortunately, the songs I chose were all my specialties. Moreover, they all had a certain level of technical difficulty. If I perform normally, I have a good chance of winning today. Compared to the other 4, Raven Horde had the most money. Although he also despised Qin Guang, US dollars were worthy of respect. Therefore, he chose Croatian Rhapsody and Pathetique. It was enough to show his respect and show off his skills. Perez sat on the other side of the sofa. He was resting with his eyes closed. His face was expressionless. His slender fingers were slowly rubbing together. He was trying hard to suppress his desire to laugh. He felt that he was very wise. Recently, he had been practicing Maxim's adaptation of Flight of the Bumblebee, so he decided to choose this song. As for the other song, he chose the relatively relaxing Nocturne in E-flat major, by Chopin. These 2 songs, one fast and one slow, were a perfect match. Flight of the Bumblebee highlighted his skills, while Nocturne could be used to enhance his artistic taste. He was going to win. Christina and the other two looked a little bitter. It was obvious that everyone wanted Nightingale. However, the three of them had chosen their songs very casually. It was not a problem to use it as a commercial performance. However, now that the commercial performance had been upgraded to a competition for Nightingale, they had already lost half of their songs. It was a huge loss. Be it Raven Horde or Pires, they were not easy to deal with. At this moment, Fong Tianyu, who had received Qin Guang's permission, knocked on the door gently. "Come in." Christina glanced at the other four before replying. Fong Tianyu pushed the door open and entered, only to find that the atmosphere between the 5 people in the room was not quite right. He himself was also at a loss. "Well, masters, Mr. Qin asked me to inform you that although the tickets have already printed out the songs that you have chosen, you can change your songs at the last minute if you want to. You can try to choose the songs that you are best at. He will handle the audience's opinions." "Oh, that works." Pires was the first to lose his cool. Raven Horde's expression also changed. He was a little unhappy. "What does Mr. Qin mean?" Actually, I don't really understand. He just asked me to inform everyone. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first." According to the order of the reservation, Miss Christina will be the first to go on stage. Please be prepared. "Oh, right, we have actually prepared a piano practice room in the room next door. Miss Christina, if you want to change your song, you can practice there first." "Is there only one piano room?" The other two who had problems with the song selection hurriedly stood up. Fong Tianyu's mouth twitched. "No, there are 5 piano rooms." "All right, let's go practice too." "Hey, that's not very good," Pires said with his mouth pursed. Hee, Mr. Pires, it's rare for the 5 of us to gather together. It's good to have a fair competition. Even if I lose, I want to lose willingly. We are pursuing a higher art. The more we do this, the more perfect our performance will be." Christina was the first to run out as fast as she could because she was a woman. She couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Everyone knew that she was the world's best performer of Will-o'-the-Wisp. As long as she could perform Will-o'-the-Wisp perfectly on stage, she would be unrivaled in terms of show-off skills. It didn't matter even if she made a slight mistake due to hasty preparation, because a complete performance of Will-o'-the-Wisp was already a great achievement. Although the video of Qin Guang playing the top 10 most difficult songs that he had posted on the internet had caused quite a stir, and Christina herself had seen it before. She had even asked her students to analyze the audio track of Qin Guang's video, but she didn't take it seriously. Judging from her professional perspective, Qin Guang's performance was too accurate. It didn't seem like it was played by a human at all. It was clearly a sound that was synthesized by the computer after the score was input into the computer. This was because the 10 most difficult songs performed by human fingers could not be as precise as what he had done in the video. Therefore, Christina had reason to believe that the Wuxia internet celebrity, Right Qin, was faking the bullet. Now that she had seen him in person, not only did her belief not waver, but it became even firmer. He was so vain that he was willing to spend $1.2 million just to get a chance to perform on the same stage as the 5 of them. It was all for the sake of fame. How could it be impossible for such a person to fake the bullet? The other 4 people's situation was similar to Christina's. No one really believed that Qin Guang had the ability he had shown in the video. It was too incredible and unreal. It was fine to deceive beginners who had just learned piano to a certain level, or young people who were easily swayed, but to deceive us, sorry, you're not qualified. After the 3 of them left, Pires and Lavin Holland couldn't sit still. Didn't anyone think that Right Qin was actually humiliating us by bringing up this matter? Listening to what Manager Fong said, it seems like he has the confidence to beat us no matter what song we play. Pires' face was gloomy. He suddenly experienced a feeling of being looked down upon, which made him very angry. Lavin Holland nodded. How could we not understand? But it doesn't matter. He's just a young man who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He really thinks that being able to make a sound means that he has some achievements. He's not insulting us but the piano. Hey Pires, I've got to go practice my song. I really don't know what's going on, but I actually feel like I'm 30 years younger and my blood is boiling. Pires smiled. Me too, Mr. Horde. Lavin Holland grinned. So, let's get serious and have a good competition. At this time in the art gallery outside, Although the audience was slow to enter due to the cumbersome security procedures, as the time approached, the Wuxia National Art Gallery, which could accommodate 5,000 people, was gradually filled with people. Everyone's seat was according to their number, and not many people cared about the 8 empty seats. In such a large gallery, the group of bald heads in the ordinary area was still so conspicuous. Qin Guang's most loyal die-hard fan, the bald president, was still sitting in the middle of the crowd, gnashing his teeth fiercely. Grandpa, just lose for once. The music guy that Qin Guang had met once on the plane had bought a VIP ticket in the innermost area. At this time he was very conflicted. Rationally, he hoped to see Qin Guang embarrass himself on stage. After all, Qin Guang had verbally humiliated his idol Kleiderman. He had also learned more about Qin Guang's filth from his teacher. But emotionally he had to tell himself that he could not think like that. He's your savior, the unparalleled hero who saved 300 lives in a desperate situation. You have to maintain enough respect for him or else you'll be ungrateful. Mr. Kleiderman. I'm in a dilemma. Chapter 749. What? Mr. Qin, can you say it again? In another resting room, Yu Hong, Fong Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoyang stared at Qin Guang with their eyes wide open. The one who screamed was Lu Xiaoyang. Xiao Lu thought he heard wrong. Qin Guang shrugged. What are you talking about? Isn't it just giving each of them a copy of the original sound source? It's not that big of a deal, right? The original sound source isn't that big of a deal, but you're giving Nightingale away? That's too much. Why are you so honest? Comrade Xiao Lu just didn't learn from his mistakes and didn't have the awareness to learn from his mistakes. After focusing on dismantling Old Master Guang for 30 years, he just didn't understand that even though Old Master Guang's every action seemed bold and unconstrained, arrogant and condescending, it just so happened that every time he bragged about it, it turned out to be a reality. Give it away. I'm just making a bet, okay? I want them to see it but not get to eat it. I want them to be anxious. Otherwise, if I let them fool me, I won't be able to hold the concert, understand? A few of Qin Guang's best men looked at Qin Guang silently. To be honest, they were tired of following such a boss. He seemed to be serious. He wasn't joking. He really planned to use this piano concert to step on the heads of the 5 famous masters to become a master pianist. Regardless of whether you really have that level of skill, your way of thinking is too contemptuous. Playing the piano is not like sports or esports. There is no quantitative standard at all. Where do you get the confidence that you can rely on a concert to be on the same level as the 5 masters or even better than them in the eyes of the world? Can you give us a reason to convince them? What if we lose? Do we really have to give Nightingale away? You people really disappoint me. I can't take it anymore. I have to find a few brainless fans to replace you guys. You guys are like this every time. I'm really tired. The cleaning section chief, Chu Hanji, who had just walked in, heard this. He raised his arms and shouted, "Once Qin comes out, all the heroes flee. Mr. Qin is heaven-defying. His powers are limitless. He's invincible and invincible." The others turned their heads to look at him. Damn it, he got there first. Also, when did you come to Beijing? We're busy with business here. Why didn't you stay in the 5 capitals and clean up? Why did you come to Yanjing? Also, isn't your bootlicking a little too stiff? How can we, who are being taught a lesson, endure it? Hee, nice to meet you, Manager Yu. Nice to meet you, Manager Fong. Nice to meet you, Manager Lu. Recently, there's really nothing much to do in the company. I was thinking that since there's such a big event in Beijing, they might need someone to sweep the floor. It just so happens that I'm on leave, so I came over to take a look. Yu Hong and the other 2 widened their eyes in shock. This guy was too loyal. What was a good employee? This was China's good employee. He was anxious about his boss's needs and thought about his boss's thoughts. He had completed the work assigned by his boss in excess of what he had done. Even when he was on leave, he had flown to Yanjing at his own expense to take the initiative to help. What the new era needed the most was this kind of talent. It would be a waste to let him be the head of the cleaning department. Not bad, young man. Contact the staff in the art gallery and ask them for a set of cleaning clothes. I'll leave the cleaning work in the art gallery to you. Qin Guang patted Chu Hanji's shoulder in satisfaction. In fact, this kid had arrived early that day. He was merely in disguise and mixed in with the crowd to do his job as a secret agent. Yu Hong and the other 2 stared at him. CK, how could you do that? Little Chu is such an ambitious young man. How could you bear to let him be a cleaner? Little Chu would definitely be very sad, right? All right, Mr. Chen. I'll go right now. Chu Hanji suddenly put his legs together and stood at attention. Then he left happily. Yu Hong and the other two rubbed their eyes again. There must be something wrong with this young man's brain. He was not angry at all. He was even happy about it. It was as if he had been entrusted with an important mission. Those in the know would know that he was going out to be a cleaner, but those who did not know would think that he was going out to save the world. The three of them gasped. That was too scary. There were only two possibilities. Either there was something wrong with this little Chu's brain, or his ability to flatter others was ingrained in his bones like an instinct. It was completely natural and smooth. A strong sense of crisis arose in the hearts of the three of them. No wonder Mr. Chen wanted to create a security department, a cleaning department and a food department. They were indeed all crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Mr. Chen is mighty. Yu Hong turned around, lowered his head and said with a red face. Kill that master. Fong Tianyu, a veteran smoker, was not so reserved. I swear to follow Mr. Chen until death. I will go through fire and water without hesitation. Lu Xiaoyang clenched his fists and forced himself to look very excited. I save it. It's not the first day we've known each other. Let's get to work. First, help me see how the popularity of the online live broadcast platform is doing. Qin Guang had seen through the nature of these brothers. He really made things difficult for them. It was only after checking on the internet that he found out that his piano concert today was, in a sense, the most watched piano concert in human history. At this time, his live broadcast room on the Bamboo platform was playing a warm-up program, interspersed with his past videos and program recordings, as well as the scene inside the art gallery. Although this was just some content that was completely unrelated to today's theme, the real number of viewers in the live broadcast room had exceeded 5 million. It was estimated that when the officials start, the number of viewers in the live broadcast room on the Bamboo platform would undoubtedly exceed 10 million. On the other hand, the number of viewers in the live broadcast room on the YouTube platform had directly exceeded 10 million. This kind of attention was almost impossible in a regular piano performance. Even the world's most famous pop music master or the world's top pianist could not reach 1/10 of the audience of Qin Guang. The reason for this phenomenon, after all, was that Qin Guang had now become an atypical internet celebrity. His fame on the internet had long surpassed the concept of traditional internet celebrities, and even surpassed many so-called domestic A-list celebrities. Especially after he stopped the air crash, the domestic #1 mouthpiece Central TV Department 1 broadcasted news reports related to him 3 times in a row, which made his personal image in the country almost crossed several levels and reached the peak. Even now, the major stations and online media were still taking the initiative to brush his news. Some marketing accounts that leached on his popularity even wrote chicken soup articles specifically around him, constantly reposting and sharing. Of course, there were also media and marketing accounts that discredited him, but these people were unlucky very quickly. With these examples, no one would spend money to hire a water army to go against Qin Guang, the most mainstream internet celebrity. Walking on the road, everyone was talking about him. There's a man named Qin Guang. He didn't know how to fly a plane, but he learned and applied it on the spot. He successfully made a forced landing and saved an Airbus A320 and the 300 lives on it. Oh, this you're talking about? I've heard about it. My son practically bragged about it at dinner last night. I thought these young people went crazy from watching movies, but it turns out it's true. Of course it's true, it's all on the news. Amazing, a young hero. Right, I heard that he's going to have a piano performance on Tomato TV tomorrow. Do you want to watch? I'll watch. I've been hearing this name a lot lately, but I don't even know what he looks like. Similar conversations were happening all over China like mushrooms after a spring rain. With this kind of hype, the result was that more and more people knew the name Qin Guang, and more people knew about what he had done in the past and what he was going to do soon. That was to say, in the various reports, they tried their best to avoid his clear face. Currently, he could still rely on the mask to fool the crowd, but it was estimated that after a period of time, this piece would also disappear from his life. In China, there were currently countless people who already knew his name but did not know what he looked like, and they were extremely curious about him. Coupled with the advice that the shameless Master Guang had given to the youngsters at the press conference, the result was that he had become famous. So famous that his piano performance had also become famous. Basically, it was as if it had followed suit. Abroad, there was no ferocious publicity like the official mouthpiece of China personally leading the team, but the International Airline Association's award of a Hero's Medal was a big deal. Other than the official mouthpieces of the major airlines, YouTube and various major social media platforms were simply waterlogged publicity for this living god from the East. The plane crash was already a sensitive topic, and with the help of many survivors, coupled with the fact that Qin Guang had not long ago crushed everyone in Detroit and became the man with the strongest arm strength in the world, with all these factors coming together, his rhythm naturally exploded again, so there were more people on YouTube than on Bamboo. At this time, on the Bamboo side, Qin Guang's live broadcast room was already bustling with activity. Gifts of all sizes were being sent, and the chat was also very lively. Why isn't Brother All-Rounder out yet? I've been waiting so anxiously. This is nothing, I've been waiting since 5 p.m. and I've been watching a black screen for 2 hours. Previous poster, have you forgotten about me? I'm the one who accompanied you to chat with the black screen. The moderator is here. Starting the kneeling mode. This little girl here greets you. Greetings to all the old masters of the audience. Everyone send more gifts. The official broadcast will start at 8 p.m. and the first to go on stage is Master Christina from Portugal, a famous beautiful pianist. Beautiful my ass. I don't know if she was beautiful when she was young, but now she's just an auntie. But she plays the piano very well. She's amazing, my teacher said that in class. I think, is Brother All-Rounder deliberately hyping himself up? My friend went to the scene and said that other than Christina, there were 4 other masters invited, the very amazing kind. Go see for yourselves on the Tianguang website. What the hell is the Tianguang website? You guys don't know about Brother All-Rounder's official website? How amazing. After a while, a new rhythm appeared on the bullet screen. Chapter 750. I have a feeling that Brother All-Rounder is deliberately hyping himself up. I have the same feeling too. His mode is simply tying himself to Raven Horde and the other 4. That's a little bit of it. He's already so famous, why is he still doing this? He hasn't reached that level yet, so he's using money to kidnap them? I'm starting to think that he's turning into a hater. This person doesn't care about his reputation at all? Actually, this was not the so-called turning into a hater but an authentic hater. He thought that his opportunity had come. *CKOF. A passerby is a passerby. Stay where you are. That's right. There are a lot of haters anyway. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. Does he think he's a big shot? I've been a fan of Brother Omnipotent since a long time ago. He's a little shameless, but the things he does make people admire him. That's right. You can save the lives of more than 300 people? I'll have to trouble the admin to give this hater a 30-year ban package. Sure. I'll try to block his IP. Then in the bullet screen live broadcast room, hundreds of red messages appeared in one breath. The admin is godly. Invincible. This guy was also angry. As a professional hatter, he was paid to eat. The most infuriating thing was that he had such a heavy responsibility but was unable to fulfill his duties. It was because the admin in this room was too fierce. He would block people at the slightest disagreement. He was as diligent as an animal. After lurking for so long, he finally found an opportunity to quietly stab them. In the end, his IP was blocked and his colleagues in the studio were all wiped out. This guy is really stupid. Qin Guang was also in the live broadcast room. He happened to see this scene and was overjoyed. Mr. Qin, to be honest, why don't you go to the practice room to warm up first? Today you have to perform with the 5 masters. Although we're hyping ourselves up, you can't be too. Lu Xiaoyang was starting again. Here you go again. How many times do you want me to tell you? I don't even need to practice to crush them, okay? Qin Guang impatiently kicked Comrade Xiao Lu, telling him to scram. He then turned back to look at the comments in the live broadcast channel and was overjoyed. Finally, in the eyes of tens of thousands of people, it was 8 o'clock, the official opening of Qin Guang's concert. At the same time, Tomato TV's CEO, who bought the rights to the live broadcast of the concert, was grinning from ear to ear. As it turned out, as early as 10 minutes before the live broadcast began, Tomato TV's ratings had already begun to soar. Due to the sudden rise of Enemy Channel's Ace variety show on Wednesday, Tomato Channel's viewership ratings had been steadily declining. However, today's show had not yet officially started airing and it had already shot up to 2%. At present, there was still a 5-minute delay in the real-time broadcast of the viewership ratings. This one, 983%, was the data from 5 minutes ago. According to the normal pattern, the viewership ratings should have broken 2% by now, but it was unknown how much higher it would be. This was simply a windfall. It was a pity that time was too tight and they did not manage to get any sponsors. There was not a single TV station advertisement in this concert. It was all sponsored advertisements by the organizers. This was also one of the conditions that allowed Tomato TV to buy the live broadcast rights at a low price. However, to be able to give enemy channel's Ace Variety show a head-on blow, to be able to make that damn fatty unhappy, then I'm happy. On the other side, the lights in the National Gallery of Art were temporarily dimmed. 2 slender women with veils gradually walked to the center of the stage. The lights followed their graceful figures as they moved. The 2 of them were wearing white and yellow dresses. Under the illumination of the lights, they fluttered like fairies. Are they hosts? Oh right, the tickets didn't mention who the host was? Who cares who the host is? That's true, but why are they covering their faces? Is it still popular to have masked hosts these days? And is there a need for 2 of them? This is really strange. Just as everyone was discussing, the 2 female hosts finally walked to the center of the stage. Both of them put the microphones to their mouths at the same time. Suddenly, the 2 of them pulled down the veils covering their heads. The girl in the white dress smiled and said, "Hello everyone, I'm the host of Qin Guang's concert, Xianxia. Welcome everyone." Who is Xianxia? The girl in the yellow dress beside her also smiled sweetly and playfully poked her own face. "Hello everyone. I'm the host Jiang Yage. Thank you very much for attending Qin Guang's concert." The girl in the yellow dress was Jiang Yage. The huge National Gallery of Art was instantly filled with thunderous applause. No one would have thought that just buying a ticket to watch a piano concert would actually come with a meet and greet session for the 2 of them. This was really a big win. Also, if I remember correctly, this should be Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's debut as hosts. Are we going to be witnesses to history? The ticket price was totally worth it, okay? The audience in front of the TV and the live broadcast were also shocked. It was still okay overseas, only a small number of the audience knew the 2 of them, but the domestic audience almost exploded. Strange, didn't the internet say that the 2 of them were recording in London? What the hell is this? Don't ask me, how would I know? My brother all-rounder is amazing. Is this the most luxurious host lineup in the history of this year? He even said that there was nothing between him and Jin Shiyue. Only a ghost would believe that. If there wasn't something going on, would she fly tens of thousands of miles from London to be a host for him? Not only did he rush back, he even brought his best friend Jiang Yage. He was really affectionate. King winner in life, brother all-rounder. Hey, why are you scolding people? I worship him to death. At this time, similar conversations were happening everywhere in front of the TV and computers. Of course, it wasn't that no one scolded Qin Guang, but he had been scolded a lot. Recently, his heroic image had been packaged like the sun in the sky, and many of his die-hard haters usually didn't dare to scold him. Seeing that you just saved a lot of lives, I won't scold you this week. I'll write down the words I want to scold you in a small notebook, and I'll make up for it all when I wake up next Monday morning. Not to mention the other friends were shocked, as the victim Qin Guang himself was even more confused. What the hell was this? What happened? Are you kidding me? He was watching the live broadcast on the TV in the break room, and he was so shocked that he stood up from his chair. Why are they here? Why didn't I get any notice in advance? The 2 people on the TV seemed to have guessed Qin Guang's surprise at this time. Jiang Yage was still naughtily winking at the camera. Only Qin Guang understood the meaning behind her eyes. In order to help Qin Guang's concert, the 2 people spared no effort. Without a doubt, when the faces of the 2 people suddenly appeared on Tomato TV, this kind of heavyweight trump card that was taken at the critical moment without any prior notice would cause the atmosphere of the entire venue to explode. The audience in front of the TV and computers would be even more shocked with their mouths wide open. The fans of the 2 people would quickly spread word of mouth, telling others that the left and right hand had appeared on the stage again. It was not a commercial performance, nor was it a normal announcement but a live broadcast. Right now, log on to Tomato TV or Bamboo Live. Those with jet lag, please click on the all-around superhuman section of the live broadcast on YouTube. In this way, in addition to Qin Guang's own fans and the audience who paid attention to him because of the forced landing incident, the concert instantly gained a new group of audience members. Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage's fans. The director of Tomato TV almost jumped out of his chair. In addition to the latest ratings report that he had just received, which showed that it had now broken through the figure of 626%, the sudden appearance of the two people on the stage made him even more overjoyed. What was this called again? A sleeping victory. That's right, today's was the strongest sleeping victory in history. Usually, if one wanted to invite these two national goddesses to participate in variety shows, even if they offered a price of millions for an episode, there was no market for them and they would not accept it. In the entire country, as long as it was a provincial station with a bit of power, who would not want these two people on their own show? That was waving their checks around but having no way to spend them. This time they only spent a few million to buy Qin Guang's live broadcast rights, and they actually got a surprise from these two people. Buy one get two free, the gift was even more valuable than the actual person. There was an old saying, buy the casket and return the pearls. No, I bought a pig and gave 2 breeders to raise it. That's not right either. Listen, Mr. Qin, please be magnanimous and don't blame me for being mistaken. I was too excited that I lost my mind. After the two people on the other side made a simple announcement, they quickly thanked the sponsors one by one. This time, the concert had a total of 20 million sponsors, with 2 companies as the primary sponsors and 4 companies as the secondary sponsors. In their opening speech, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage learned from the famous hosts of The Voice of China, reading the 2 sponsorship companies' 200-word advertising messages at an extremely fast speed. Jin Shirui used 38 seconds 5.26 words per second and Jiang Yage was even faster, 33 seconds 6.06 words per second. The two of them appearing here today was obviously not an impromptu idea, but had long been prepared. To be honest, although it was the first time the two of them officially took on the role of host for a satellite TV program, they really acted well. Hey Sister Shirui, I don't know why, but why do I feel that we have the talent to sing rap? Why don't we add 2 rap songs to the next album and try it? On the TV, after Jiang Yage finished reading the advertising message with her extremely unique iron lungs, her expression did not change and her heart did not jump. She immediately joked with Jin Shirui again. Jin Shirui also smiled. We can try. Jiang Yage turned to face the audience again. Our speaking speed, it's not shameful, right? It's not shameful. The audience below the stage responded in unison. In fact, in a normal piano concert, there would not be this kind of interaction between the audience and the host. Firstly, the piano was extraordinarily elegant, and secondly, people who liked piano music were actually relatively quiet. But Qin Guang was not a typical internet celebrity, and most of the audience here today were also his fans. They were all non-typical listeners, so how could those who were familiar with Qin Guang not know his left and right hand? At this time, everyone was excited. Jin Shirui changed the topic again. So there's a good saying, women are not inferior to men. Hey, that's right, we can also advertise our movie. The movie Women, starring me and Qin Guang, is about to start shooting. When it's released, don't forget to buy tickets to the cinema to support us. The advertisement is over, but I have to talk about the next woman. Yes, it's our next appearance, the Portuguese master Ms. Cristina. She has won many awards internationally, and in addition she is the performer of the world's most outstanding song, Will-O-Wisp. This Will-O-Wisp is really fast. Next, let's invite Ms. Cristina to play Liszt's Will-O-Wisp for everyone. These lines were also improvised by Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage. They combined the illusion of Will-O-Wisp, one of the world's 10 most difficult songs, with the super-fast advertising slogan. The two's debut as hosts was simply amazing. With that said, the two of them retreated to the backstage. Cristina, who had already adjusted her state of mind and was ready for battle, walked out of the backstage in a tuxedo with brisk steps and a confident and noble smile on her face. She first bowed slightly to the audience, then shook her clothes and sat in front of Nightingale. The tablet in front of her was already filled with dense music scores. It was Will-O-Wisp. After the warm-up in the piano room, her fingers were burning hot at this time. When she touched the keys of Nightingale, she seemed to hear the joy of this masterpiece. Her heart was full of passion. Nightingale, You're mine. As for Qin Guang, he didn't care how Christina played over there. He didn't care at all. At this time he had already rushed out and he had to find the two of them to clarify things. Everything looked so beautiful, but the two women personally stood up for him and waved the flag for him. It was clear that his previous efforts to disassociate himself from them were going to be in vain. Oh, I'm so nervous. I'm afraid what if I read it wrong? Fortunately. In the makeup room backstage, Jiang Yage was blushing and excitedly patting her chest. Jin Shuiwei looked at the script in her hand and said with a smile, "How are you nervous? I think you played very well. Even I became calm because of you." At this time Qin Guang knocked on the door from outside. "Who is it?" Jiang Yage asked from inside. "It's me." Qin Guang's voice came from outside the door. "There's no one in the room. Come back later." As soon as she heard that Qin Guang had come, Jiang Yage suddenly panicked and lied through her teeth. Today's incident was her idea. How could she not know that Qin Guang was here to punish her? "Qin Guang, do you think I'm stupid? If I believe you, I'll have to go to the Magnetic Storm Infantry for a full course of treatment." He tried to twist the door lock, but it didn't lock, so he simply opened the door and went in. Jiang Yage turned back and smiled awkwardly at him, while Jin Shuiwei blushed and turned her eyes away, not daring to look at him. "Hey, what a coincidence. Why are you here too?" Jiang Yage rubbed her hands and twisted her waist, trying to act cute. Qin Guang was amused by her, and the anger in his heart dissipated. He waved his hand and said, all right. I'm not blaming you. What are you nervous about? Anyway, thank you both for coming all the way here to support me. By the way, I don't have money to pay for your appearance fees. I spent all my money on the 5 pianists. So expensive. Chapter 751. You really don't blame us? Jin Shuiwei, of course, had a guilty conscience, but after hearing Qin Guang's attitude she felt relieved. Growing up she had never cared about other people's feelings as much as Qin Guang. Qin Guang smiled. I can't even thank you enough. How can I blame you? Before I came in I heard from the staff of Tomato TV that the ratings had broken to 6%. I reckon that when the news of you two appearing on stage spreads, it will be at least 3%. Of course I hope the more the better. But then again, aren't you recording the song? Is it really okay to fly around like this? Sigh, there were 2 English songs that we couldn't get the feeling for, so we decided to come back. Jiang Yage smiled. Thank you for your words. I'm just tired from recording and came back to adjust my state. English songs? Qin Guang's eyes lit up. My English is super good. Do you need my help? I can sing a few lines to let you feel it. No. Absolutely not. Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage shook their heads like a rattle drum. Qin Guang's singing was too scary. His off-key skills were simply unmatched. If he sang the original song he could make people forget the normal tune in minutes. Thinking of this, Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage had a suspicion. With Qin Guang's singing level, it was not an exaggeration to say that his sense of music was in the negative. But what was up with his piano skills? Didn't the piano have a higher requirement for a sense of music and rhythm? He was such a strange person. You two really don't give me any face. As soon as Qin Guang said that, he knew that he had forcefully acted cute, but the two of them reacted quickly and did not give him a chance to redeem himself. Alright, you still have to perform on stage later. Go and prepare first. Don't worry about us. Although it's our first time as a host, we won't let you down, okay? Jin Shuiwei saw his awkward expression and immediately changed the topic. That's right. Hurry up and go. We still have to memorize the script. Jiang Yage did it more straightforwardly and directly pushed him out. Qin Guang agreed. Although he didn't need to practice as a human music player, it was their first time being a host, so they should prepare well. After leaving their dressing room, Qin Guang called Yu Hong, Fong Tianyu and Lu Xiaoyang over. He crossed his legs on the chair and smiled. Don't tell me that the 3 of you didn't know that Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage were coming? Why didn't you tell me earlier? The 3 of them shook their heads like a rattle drum. Obviously, no one wanted to take the blame before they figured out Boss Chen's true attitude. Look at how nervous all of you are. How can I blame you? This is a great help to me. Do you know how high the ratings will be? I was thinking of a reward of hundreds of thousands, but I don't know who to give it to. Qin Guang was still smiling calmly. Boss Chen, it's me. Lu Xiaoyang jumped out as expected, Actually, I didn't do anything. A few days ago, the two of them suddenly came to me and asked me to help arrange a surprise for you. They didn't let me tell you in advance. I thought that since you are familiar with each other, I agreed with them. Qin Guang smiled even more brightly, but in his heart he was gnashing his teeth in hatred. You scammer, 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 scammer. That boss Qin, I really didn't do anything. I just did what I should do. Lu Xiaoyang still didn't know that a disaster was coming. He was proudly rubbing his hands, pretending to be humble. Well done. I'll give you an extra 1 million dong as a reward for your hard work. However, our company has its own rules and regulations. How can you not report such an important matter to me, the boss? You have to remember that you are working for me, not others. They told you not to tell me, so you didn't. Your behavior is very dangerous. This time I will deduct 5,000 from you. Don't do it again. With that, Qin Guang stood up and left. Yu Hong and Fong Tianyu, who were standing at the side, covered their mouths and laughed. Lu Xiaoyang took out his phone and pressed a few times. Damn, I'm losing money. 1 million Vietnamese dong is only equivalent to 300 RMB, and then you deduct 5,000 from me. Boss is poisonous. Who the hell told you to hide it from us? You deserve it. On the other side, Christina had finally finished playing her second song. Her work for the day was considered over. The first song was Will-O-Wisp, and the second song was Adelina by the Water. The styles of these two songs were completely different. Will-the-Wisp focused on showcasing skills, while Adelina by the Waterside was relatively soothing. After Will-the-Wisp, it was just right to calm down the anxious hearts of the audience that had been caused by the previous song. When she stood up and bowed to the audience, Christina had a confident smile on her face. She didn't need anyone to tell her that her performance today was perfect and impeccable. She didn't know whether it was the perfection of Nightingale that drove her performance, or the sudden change of song made her calm as still water, allowing her to enter the perfect state of performance. The thunderous applause below the stage also proved that her performance was recognized by everyone. Although many people present came for Qin Guang, and perhaps less than 1/3 of them really knew how to play the piano, it didn't matter. The 1/3 who knew how to play the piano took the lead to applaud, and the remaining 2/3 who didn't know how to play the piano followed. Although Will-O-Wisp didn't sound that beautiful, Adelina by the Water could let the listener enjoy the beauty of music. Among the audience in front of the TV and computers, there were obviously more people who knew how to play the piano. Christina really lives up to her reputation. It's really rare to see someone who can play Will-O-Wisp in such a lively manner. Her double tone is simply perfect. It sounds lively and vivid, and it clearly portrays the image of freedom, mixed with hysterical rebelliousness and a sense of relief. Amazing, really amazing. I feel that she played Will-O-Wisp more perfectly than the last time she played it in public last year. Although I don't understand what you're talking about, it really sounds amazing. Also, although her second performance of Adelina is a little less technical, her artistic achievements aren't bad at all. Simply lifelike. This auntie is also old, but she still has the heart of a young girl. I didn't buy all her original albums in vain. You really have a heavy taste. Speaking of which, the next one is Brother All-Rounder, right? What is he going to play? I don't know either. The trailer didn't mention Brother All-Rounder's choice of song. Backstage, Jin Shuiwei and Zhang Yage were reading the script and watching the live broadcast on TV. Both of them were also shocked by Christina's perfect performance. As talented musicians who sang and composed, although the two girls' attainments in the piano could not be said to be at the master level, they were above average. When an expert played, they could tell whether or not there was a real expert. A few years ago, I heard that Master Christina's skills are extremely high. She really lives up to her reputation. Zhang Yage said as she walked out of the door. Jin Shuiwei followed behind her. After pondering for a moment, she said, although she's excellent, she's still not as good as Qin Guang. Zhang Yage thought for a moment. That's right. Although Qin Guang's Will-the-Wisp is less spiritual than hers, it's more accurate. Although each has its own merits, the one who can restore the original song to a higher level can be considered to have a higher achievement in a difficult song like Will-O-the-Wisp. So, these 5 masters must not have thought of the real reason why Qin Guang invited them. In this world, in the world of piano, the one who had the most blind trust in Qin Guang was probably the one who lost to these two. They knew very well that Qin Guang was a temporary able-bodied man at their concert and played 2 pianos each. His ability could not be faked. It was more real than real money. The two chatted as they walked to the front of the stage. When they passed by Christina, they looked at each other and smiled. Christina also knew the two girls. She knew that they were very famous pop stars in China, so she smiled very affectionately with them. Strange, what is she happy about? Well, Solomon, don't worry about her. It's Qin Guang's turn. A minute later, a brand new Qin Guang appeared on the stage. In order not to let his bald head steal too much of the show, he deliberately put on a cap. This young man, he's a bit different. He's not nervous at all. Raven Horde stopped his fingers and turned to look at the TV in the piano room with a faint smile on his face. Pires did the same thing. The perfect performance of the Portuguese woman had brought him a lot of pressure. As for Qin Guang, the sound of Nightingale was different from that of an ordinary piano. The unique tuning of Nightingale was what made it different. Its sound was extremely pure, clear and ethereal, as if a real nightingale was singing in the night sky. More importantly, its pitch was extremely terrifying. This kind of sound could not be imitated by ordinary pianos, nor could the computer-synthesized sound. So this time, it was impossible for Qin Guang to fake it like before. If he dared to fake it when performing on the same stage as them, then they must be the first to jump out and expose him. So, as long as you don't embarrass yourself too much today, as long as you fulfill your promise to give Nightingale, it doesn't matter who gets Nightingale in the end. We will turn a blind eye, pinch our noses, and reluctantly accept your scheme to take advantage of your position. Young man, you're on your own. On the TV, Qin Guang shook his clothes. Unlike others who were wearing suits and leather shoes, although he was wearing a cap, he was wearing a sports t-shirt which looked a little out of place. What kind of song is he going to play? This thought came to everyone's mind. After all, in the previous publicity, there was never a mention of Qin Guang's choice of song. Suddenly, Qin Guang's fingers moved. As soon as the sound came out, the audience suddenly realized that he was playing the same will-wisp as Christina. This is not a normal exchange at all, nor is it an ordinary concert at all. Brother All-Rounder is going to compete with these 5 world-famous pianists. Whatever the others played, he would play it. Isn't the meaning obvious? So let people compare. The ones who were the most surprised were not the audience, but the 5 masters, including Christina herself. The reason was very simple. It was because Christina's Will-O-Wisp was a last-minute change of song. What did this mean? It meant that Qin Guang had not practiced at all before, nor had he warmed up at all. Christina had just changed the song and he played it. Have you lost your mind? This is Will-Wisp. You have to play it for real. If you don't play it like this, you'll become a big joke. Chapter 752. But this thought only lasted for less than 10 seconds. 10 seconds later, his mouth was wide open and he couldn't say a word for a long time. This is too scary, too strange. What happened? What did I hear? Did this guy know that Christina would change to Will-the-Wisp? How could this be? The sound was indeed the perfect music of Nightingale. This couldn't be faked, but the pitch was too scary. Or maybe it was a recorded broadcast. He had already prepared Will-the-Wisp recorded by Nightingale. What made Pires dumbfounded was Will-the-Wisp, that Qin Guang had casually played. I'm sorry, you think this is one of the top 10 most difficult songs in the world, but for me it's no different from children's exercises. Easy casual. What you're facing is the strongest player that has ever been seen in the history of mankind. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to pretend, Qin Guang wouldn't even want the music score. Well, to be honest, he really didn't need it. So Qin Guang stopped on the screen again. He picked up the tablet in front of him, then smiled at the microphone and said, "It looks a little annoying, I'll just play it myself." Then he really turned off the tablet, closed his eyes and started playing Will-the-Wisp blindly again. This time, Pires, Raven Horde and the others didn't have to wonder if he was faking it after the recording. It was absolutely impossible. This guy didn't even need to look at the music score. What's going on in that brain of yours? This isn't Do Re Mi Fa So, this is Will-the-Wisp. Christina, who was sitting in the resting room, jumped up from her chair. As the top performer of this difficult piece, she certainly knew how complicated this piece was. Moreover, this was a last-minute change to the song. It was impossible for him to have prepared it in advance. This is impossible. But how could he play it blind? It's fine if you play blind, but how can you play it so accurately like a machine? Many people in the National Gallery of Art did not expect to change the song at the last minute, but Qin Guang's blind play of Will-o'-the-Wisp still shocked many people, especially the young musician on the plane. He had always felt conflicted about Qin Guang. Now it turned out that Brother All-Rounder was not bragging. Not to mention anything else, just based on his perfect prelude of Will-o'-the-Wisp, his achievements in the piano were definitely above him. He had the right to be arrogant. But when Qin Guang was halfway through his performance, the young musician's mind was once again subverted by himself. Qin Guang's achievements weren't just above him. He was clearly miles ahead of him. Perhaps he wasn't any worse than his mentor. Was this guy still human? From the beginning till now, he actually didn't make a single mistake in his intonation. Well, in a sense, there were no mistakes, which also meant that there was no recreation. The sound that he played was simply a living score. How did you do it? I don't believe it. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes and heard it with his own ears, and believed that a hero like him would never make a fake play for the sake of acting, the young musician would only think that he was dreaming. Admittedly, Qin Guang's Will-o'-the-Wisp was less spiritual than Christina's, but the flaw did not obscure the beauty. His accuracy was simply beyond human imagination. When Qin Guang played Adelina by the waterside without a break, Raven Holt Perez and the others completely gave up on the idea that he had guessed Christina's motive for changing the song and was preparing in advance. It was not surprising that he could guess Will-o'-the-Wisp, but Adelina by the waterside was not Christina's masterpiece. There were many other choices for the same soothing style, but he was still playing blind. He didn't need a score, so he was naturally accurate. It was another perfect reproduction of the original sound. The feeling he played was different from the original performer of the song, Richard Clayderman. It seemed to be the first version created by Paul Senneville, and it was just as beautiful. When Qin Guang loosened his fingers, stood up from the stool and bowed slightly to the audience, the applause was even more intense than when Christina stood up. Apart from the fact that most of the audience present were Qin Guang's fans, the one-third of the audience who knew how to play the piano were the real main force. That's right, Brother All-Rounder was going to use his true abilities to compete with 5 of the world's top well-known masters today. There was no doubt that his duel with Christina had ended with his small victory. There was no need to comment too much. Although he had the advantage of striking after the opponent, the standard of his performance was far better than Christina's. Let's not talk about his artistic achievements first. Just the fact that his hands were so accurate that it made people's hair stand on end, and his ability to reproduce was unparalleled. Perez and the others understood that there was really no need to compare the source of the sound with others. Christina was not as good as him. The second to play was the music guy's mentor, a master from the United States. Unlike Christina, the 2 songs that he had chosen were both famous songs with high artistic achievements but relatively few praises. They could be considered to be works of a niche audience. But it was useless. He was once again copied by Qin Guang, and it was still a blind play. Qin Guang's terrifying ability to reproduce the original sound shocked the tens of millions of viewers in Bamboo's live broadcast room, as well as the 20 million people in YouTube's live broadcast room. Tomato TV's ratings had officially crossed the ace-level figure of 3%. At this time, a 3% rating meant at least 15 million people were watching the concert in front of their TVs. The third to play was Perez. Flight of the Bumblebee, and Nocturne in E-flat major, still couldn't stop him. At this moment, Raven Horde and the others were clear as a mirror. No wonder this guy was willing to offer a sky-high price of $2 million for 5 people. No wonder he was willing to boast about giving away Nightingale. He was clearly planning to step on their heads and use such a world-renowned music event to reach the pinnacle of the piano world. Although this young tycoon from Wuxia was really rich, he was not stupid at all. On the contrary, he was extremely cunning. He was not shamelessly trying to play with them on the same stage. He clearly had a performance level that was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. He just needed a large and attractive stage to use the posture of a king to announce to the world that the emperor of the piano had appeared out of nowhere. They were filled with indescribable regret. If they had known earlier, they would not have accepted this commercial performance contract even if he had doubled the price. This was simply throwing away his old face. They were supposed to be his stepping stones, but now it was too late for them to back down and there was no turning back. The fourth master's performance was off. In a state of despair, he played the famous song that he had long practiced to the point of familiarity, but it was a complete mess. But it didn't matter. After the audience's ears were tortured, Qin Guang immediately used the same two songs to bring the concert back to its original style. While Qin Guang was still playing outside, the other four had gathered in Ravenhorde's practice room. Ravenhorde was the only one who had yet to go on stage. The atmosphere was a little gloomy and everyone felt wronged. "He's such a bully," Perez said angrily. Christina's eyes were red. "He's just using us." The other two were silent, especially the guy who made a mistake. His face was livid and he looked as if he had nothing left to live for. Seeing everyone like this, Ravenhorde suddenly laughed. "Mr. Horde, what are you laughing at?" the master from the United States asked. Ravenhorde said with a smile, "I suddenly realized something just now. Everyone seems to be a little narrow-minded. First of all, he paid a high price for us to come here. We took his money and it wasn't a small amount. Doing our best is what we should do. As for what he wants to achieve with this concert, it's also his freedom. From the moment we signed the sky-high contract, we were destined to be his stepping stone here today. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I feel that at my age, I'm not angry at the fact that I can see such a young up-and-coming talent pushing piano performance to such heights. That I feel happy." The eyes of the other four gradually lit up. "Haven't you guys noticed? In addition to being an excellent pianist, he also has a pair of strong arms that are beyond human comprehension. His fingers and arms are extremely perfect. I think this might be the root cause of his flawless performance. He has shown us another realm of piano performance. I call it the perfect mechanical performance. It might be an honor for the five of us to be able to witness the birth of such an unprecedented genius and to be able to witness his ascension to the throne. Perhaps this will be written in the history of music many years in the future." On a certain day, the most perfect pianist in history, Qin Guang, competed with Ravenhorde, Perez and many others. In the end, he won the title of the perfect pianist. Our names will also be engraved in the history of music together with him. Perez finally felt relieved. As expected of Mr. Horde. Christina also nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Horde. I feel much better now." Seeing that everyone had almost been enlightened by him, Ravenhorde shook his hand. "However, he still has to go through me." Everyone was immediately shocked by the shocking aura that erupted from Ravenhorde. Indeed, the older the wiser. "Master, let us see your elegance." 20 minutes later, this piece of old ginger finally drooped on the balcony after being exposed to the sun. How embarrassing. Although Ravenhorde's performance of Croatian Rhapsody and Pathetique was probably his most perfect performance in the past 10 years, it still could not withstand Qin Guang's original sound reproduction. To be honest, you played a total of 10 songs blindly, and at least 6 of them should have been completely unexpected by you. You're a little too unreasonable. Is this brain of yours a human's? How on earth did you store so many music scores? We can also remember music scores, but that's only after practicing and revising the song for a long time before we officially go on stage to perform. You just picked it up and played it and it's the original sound. What's the meaning of this? We've lost wholeheartedly, so you should at least save us some face. Do you want us to kneel down before you will give up? Fortunately, it's over. It's finally over. Ravenhorde and the others had already made up their minds. When they went on stage for the curtain call, they would also tell everyone about the last-minute change of music. "Anyway, you're almost like a god now. Anyway, we've taken your money. Anyway, you're really good, so we'll help you and push you to the sky." However, at this moment, Qin Guang, who had ended Pathetique, did not stand up. Instead, he smiled faintly at the audience below the stage and said something that made everyone completely dumbfounded. "Just now, I followed the 5 masters' music and played 10 songs similar to theirs. I'm very grateful to the 5 masters for their help and cooperation today. Next, I'll perform something different for everyone. The song that I'm going to play should be something that no one has ever played alone before. The name of this song is not very pleasant to listen to. It's called The Final Ghost Beast Girl. Yes, that's right, this is a Ghost Beast piano song. What I mean by a different way of performing is to play it with one hand. Yes, that's right, I'm going to play it with one hand. At the same time, I'll play La 3 on another piano with my other hand. That's right, it's Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3, that many people are familiar with. The sound might be a little messy at that time, but it doesn't matter. There will be a dual-track audio system. The webcast will also use stereo technology. Please put on your headphones. When the time comes, you'll hear the Ghost Beast piano song in your left ear and Law 3 in your right ear. Whichever you want to listen to, just listen to that headphone alone. As for my friends in the audience, I actually have a good suggestion. Plug your ears and go home to listen to the dual-track recording. There'll be a surprise. Oh, by the way, my friends from Tomato TV, it seems like it's time for the live broadcast. Can I continue with my additional scenes? Qin Guang seemed to be asking someone else, but in fact no one answered him. Only Tomato TV's station head, who was thousands of kilometers away, picked up his walkie-talkie to inform the audience that the later programs would continue to be delayed. He replied to the air, "Of course we'll broadcast it. If I don't broadcast it with a 4.2% viewership rating, would I be crazy?" Unknowingly, this joint piano performance that Qin Guang had come up with on the spur of the moment and used only a week's time to make, had suddenly become the king of viewership ratings. If the station head had been told a day in advance that Tomato TV had the ability to suppress all their rival stations, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. But now it had become a reality. The last variety show to achieve such a viewership rating was the first season of The Voice of China, the most successful singing show in the country's history. The station head was not stupid. Now that the viewership ratings were still rising, he just wanted to ride on Qin Group's rocket to the skies. Who knows, he might even break 5% in one go. In any case, it's not like it's the news simulcast, so he should just push it back if he could. On the other side, when Qin Guang said that, there was an uproar. Chapter 753. Professional pianists were well aware of the power of playing 3. As for Final Ghost Animal, it wasn't that well known, but those who were familiar with 2D culture and frequented Bilibili's music section would know that this song wasn't meant to be played by a single person. It required at least 6 people to bring out the flavor of the song. This guy said he was going to play 2 songs at the same time with one hand, and he even said he was going to play 2 songs at the same time. Are you an alien? Perez, who was drinking water, spat out a mouthful of soda and spat it all over Mr. Raven Holland's face. However, Mr. Raven Holland completely forgot to be angry and only screamed, "Crazy." The other 4 people screamed in unison, "Completely crazy." At this time, the audience in front of the live broadcast platform was the happiest, especially the 2D enthusiasts who were familiar with Final Ghost Animal. Many people had seen the computer simulation video of Final Ghost Animal. Everyone knew that this was not a song that could be played by a single person. The dense notes that fell from the top to the bottom were like a torrential downpour. It made people's hair stand on end just by looking at it. But what did this gentleman say? He was going to play it with one hand. You want to play 3 with one hand with the other? Don't lie to me that I'm not well educated. It's completely impossible, okay? You're bragging to the heavens, aren't you? The people of Zenith sent a congratulatory message. I feel a chill. The wind that Brother Omnipotent is blowing is making it hard for me to breathe. I don't care if you believe it or not, I don't believe it. As a die-hard fan of Brother Omnipotent, even I think he's acting cute. He's not an octopus. Does he have 8 hands? However, I've already put on the headphones. My Sennhei HD 800 is thirsting for it. Are you a friend? However, I've already lost my wife for this headphone. I don't believe it, I really don't believe it. I still find it hard to believe that he's playing Final Ghost Animal with 2 hands. What's the principle of playing with one hand? Do you have 100 fingers? What makes you think you can do it? Didn't anyone think that playing 2 songs at the same time would be too brainless? I know, but I can't do it with one hand. Qin Guang had suddenly raised the difficulty to such a degree, and it felt surreal to the point that everyone felt that it was unreal. Many people racked their brains and couldn't understand how he was going to play Final Ghost Animal and play 3 with one hand. First of all, it was impossible for him to do it with his hands. Secondly, could you split your head into 2 and think of 2 extremely difficult songs at the same time? Regardless of what others thought, Qin Guang went back into meditation after his speech. He sat on the stool expressionlessly like a stone Buddha, rubbing his fingers slightly. It looked like he was boasting brainlessly, but in fact he was quite serious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have closed his eyes to rest before the performance. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Another piano was pushed out from the backstage and slowly moved to the center of the stage. This piano wasn't a nightingale, but an ordinary Steinway. But it didn't matter. Qin Guang didn't want to have a perfect artistic achievement. He just wanted to use such an indisputable and irrefutable double play to make everyone understand one thing. In this world, there's absolutely no one who can play the piano as well as me. I'm Qin Guang, the strongest in history. Finally, when the second Steinway was placed beside Qin Guang, he slowly opened his eyes. Regardless of whether people thought he was bragging, joking, or shooting his mouth off, all of a sudden, everyone in the National Museum of Art didn't know if they were hallucinating, but they felt that Qin Guang, who was sitting on the stage, had become a little different. He was still sitting there motionless, but many people inexplicably felt that he seemed to have become taller. The hearts of more than 50 million viewers around the world in front of the TV and computers tightened. On the screen was a close-up of Qin Guang's face. He slowly opened his eyes as if lightning and thunder were flashing. The huge National Museum of Art was also silent, and people even subconsciously held their breath. Suddenly, Qin Guang opened his arms, like a rock spreading its wings, and put his hands on the two pianos at the same time. Huff, huff, huff. In the air, the first sound was Qin Guang's breathing. It was so heavy, like a bellows. How was he going to play? Not only the ordinary audience, but even the most professional piano artists were thinking about this question at this time. They really couldn't understand. The next second, Qin Guang told everyone how he was going to play. He still sat there without moving and his body didn't even shake, but his voice sounded. Recording. I knew this kid wouldn't be so obedient. He didn't even move and there's a sound. If this isn't a fake, then what is? In the break room, Pires was so excited that he danced and jumped. He had been depressed for the whole night, and he never thought that at this last moment he would actually get the real evidence of his fake bullet. The heavy burden that was pressing on his heart suddenly disappeared. No, Pires, wait a minute. Watch again. Ravenhorde was still looking at the TV expressionlessly and said so. Pires was stunned. What's wrong? The other three also looked at the TV with the same solemn expression, and no one paid attention to Pires. With a heart full of suspicion, Pires returned his gaze to the TV screen. After a while he hissed and gasped, This is too unbelievable. Everyone's ears were still mixed with the two tunes of Final Ghost Animal. It was undeniable that listening to this tune was not enjoyable at all. Instead, it only felt that it was an unbearable noise. But at this moment no one cared whether it was noise or not. It was because the scene that appeared on the TV was too strange. His hands were gone. Without any warning, inexplicably they were gone. Pires squinted his eyes, moved closer to the TV screen, and then rubbed his eyes hard to make sure that he did not see wrong. What's going on? On the screen, Qin Guang was still sitting in the same place expressionlessly, facing the camera. His body was as steady as a mountain without the slightest movement. But the parts below his shoulders were completely gone. No, it couldn't be said that they were really gone. If one looked carefully, they could see a misty state. Was it because his hands were moving so fast that the LCD TV with a FPS of 60 couldn't show it? The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was possible, especially when the camera zoomed in on Nightingale's piano keys. The reason was very simple. The piano keys in the camera were indeed moving up and down. Even if there were no hands and no one pressing them, they seemed to be moving by themselves. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Guang was sitting there, the phantom representing his arm would appear in the camera from time to time. The scene looked a little strange, like a ghost movie. The chaotic interlaced piano music from the TV speakers did not stop. There was no doubt that although there was no reason and no one knew what made him so terrifying, he did it. This was already a fact that could not be denied. As for his hands, they were clearly human hands. How could they display such terrifying athletic ability that was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people? That was something that scientists should care about, not us. We were just a group of poor piano players who were scared to tears. We were human beings, but he was not human. He was a monster, an alien, a god. So now there was only one question left. Was he playing the piano randomly, or was he really playing the piano well? At this time, the disadvantages of the live TV were revealed. It was impossible to achieve stereo sound with two headphones and different sound sources. Although they were all masters and had a pair of sharp ears, it was still too difficult to perfectly distinguish the two extremely difficult pieces of music in history from the dense sound of the zither. Christina, the youngest of the group, suddenly had an idea. She took out her mobile phone, immediately downloaded a YouTube app and watched the live TV in the background. She took out her headphones and tried to listen. At first she used both ears, then changed to a single headphone. "How is it?" Perez asked. Christina was silent and handed the left headphone to Perez. Perez listened for about 10 seconds and also fell silent. Lavin Holland took it again. After a long time, the 5 people in the piano room were silent, and the atmosphere was unprecedentedly awkward. They did not even have the courage to speak, nor were they interested in trying the final ghost animal in the right headphone. There was no need. It was not important. They hadn't really heard of the final ghost beast in the 2D culture. They only needed to know one thing, and that was that the 3 he played were perfect. That was enough. After confirming that Qin Guang was playing with one hand, the 5 people once again confirmed that Qin Guang's intonation was also impeccable. This simply destroyed their common sense. In fact, even if Qin Guang's playing sound was slightly flawed, they already felt that it was acceptable. After all, he was playing with one hand. But the result was that there was no flaw, not even the slightest bit. Maybe there was a little, but it was difficult to distinguish with the human ear. Perhaps a professional computer analysis could find the flaw. But this was not important, really not important. He was playing with one hand. The few of them could roughly imagine how terrifying Qin Guang was. He might have achieved the effect of playing with one hand by swinging both hands crazily and then tapping the keys with his fingertips. This way, the keys that should have been hit with both hands at the same time would inevitably have a gap in time, but because his swinging speed was too fast, it was impossible to be heard by the human ear. Oh, God, I don't know how to describe my feelings at this time. I'm really confused. Lavin Holland said what was on everyone's mind, but the result was as good as not saying anything. Finally, the sound of the piano gradually came to an end. Qin Guang, who was sitting motionless in his chair, suddenly grabbed a wooden stick from the ground and placed it on Steinway. All of Steinway's keys sounded at the same time. From the beginning of his performance until now, someone could finally see his right hand clearly. His left hand was still playing on Nightingale. Those who were familiar with The Final Ghost Animal would know that this song about the Prime Minister being a ghost animal would have such a super crazy full sound at the end. The people in front of the TV and computer who were listening to Pull 3 and The Final Ghost Animal intermittently through the dual sound sources had already begun to celebrate. The Final Ghost Animal had succeeded, and only Pull 3 was left. Finally, after another 3 minutes, when the last note of Pull 3 stopped, Qin Guang stood up and greeted the audience below the stage. The entire art gallery was filled with thunderous applause. Qin Guang linked his mind with the heavenly Holy Grail and looked down. As far as the eye could see, there were indeed threads of faith value. Although many people on the stage were originally fans of his other skills, and some people simply worshipped him as a person, after displaying a new skill, the same person could also provide him with 2 or more types of faith value. Many people's faith value threads were becoming thicker at a speed visible to the naked eye, especially the 1/3 of people who knew how to play the piano. In addition, countless faith value was also pouring in from all over the world. Although the piano was a niche subject, there were as many as 50 million people in the audience, so there were bound to be some who knew how to play the piano. The faith value from the heavenly Holy Grail started from 4,000 and was increasing at an extremely fast speed. It quickly broke through 10,000, then 20,000, and finally this crazy increase finally slowed down at 25,000. However, Qin Guang was not anxious at all. He had just finished playing, and the analysis of the professionals had not caught up yet. When the professional analysis was out, those who did not know how to play the piano would naturally understand how amazing it was. As for whether the analysis of the professionals in the wild would be slow, Qin Guang was not worried at all. Even if there were no wild ones, there were domestic ones. What was the purpose of such a large company like Tianguang Economics? Soldiers were trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single day. Wasn't this the time to do so? Just as Qin Guang had planned, at this time, Tianguang Brokerage had already begun to work frantically. There were those who wrote the script, those who did the technical analysis, those who contacted the media, and online media were also frantically making phone calls everywhere. The huge Tianguang Brokerage was all ready for battle. Raven Horde and the others had changed their minds. There was no longer a need for the 5 of them to go up and say anything. With this final move in terms of piano performance skills, Qin Guang's level could no longer be questioned by anyone. He was simply born to beat people up. Bamboo and YouTube platforms were spamming crazily with gifts and bullet comments for the time being. Tomato TV's ratings also officially broke the threshold of 5% at the last moment. This once again proved one thing. No matter what program Qin Guang wanted to do, no matter if it was a spur-of-the-moment idea or not, as long as he did it, he would be the living signboard of the ratings. At this time, many of the satellite TV leaders who had worked with Qin Guang before were regretting their decision. When they first heard that Qin Guang was going to do a piano concert, they thought that he had too much money and had nowhere to spend it. Because the preparation time was too short and the piano was not a popular art, they did not have much confidence in him and his program, so they were not very enthusiastic about it. In the end, Tomato TV picked up a big bargain and bought a magnificent night of 5% ratings with a few million. The ones who regretted the most were probably the leaders of Central TV. For example, the program director Old Wang, who had dealt with Qin Guang because of Guinness, and the deputy station head behind him, Liu Debao. No, they had to quickly write this bloody lesson in their memo. No matter what he wanted to do in the future, they must try their best to get the live broadcast rights. How did you do it? As the host, Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui surrounded Qin Guang backstage and looked him up and down. Jiang Yage even scratched his face to see if he was an alien in human skin. Alright, stop fooling around. That's nothing. I can still play with my feet next time. Qin Guang was also very proud of himself and started to brag. Jiang Yage did not care about what he was bragging about. She just smiled and squinted her eyes. No matter how you look at it, I worship you to death. Come give me a kiss. As she said that, she suddenly moved her mouth forward and gave Qin Guang a fierce kiss on his cheek in front of many people backstage. Chapter 754. Gaoya, I'm not going. I'm really not going. Scope. He organized such a big event. There must be a celebration party later. They're all his staff. What are we going to do? In the VIP area of the art gallery, Sun Xiaoxuan was struggling with a red face. Gaoyu was pulling her forward. Lin Jingwei looked at the two of them. He wanted to say something but stopped himself. In fact, he also felt that it wasn't appropriate for Sun Xiaoxuan to go to Qin Guang at this time. After all, he knew that Brother Guang had Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage with him. Lin Jingwei had already heard about Jiang Yage's situation from his father, not to mention that there was still Jin Shirui, who couldn't be separated from him. If Sun Xiaoxuan went to join in the fun, wouldn't it become a battlefield? Gaoya, class president is right. Let's go first. Otherwise we can call Brother Guang later. He'll come to us when he's done. Lin Jingwei said tentatively. Gaoya put her hands on her hips. Humph. You think I don't know what you're thinking? No way. Our Xiaoxuan came all the way here to cheer him on, but all he did was sit there and play the piano. He didn't even look at us. He's so heartless. Now that we're done, what's wrong with us old classmates going backstage? Sun Xiaoxuan helped Qin Guang. Gaoya, don't say that. I didn't tell him that I was coming. Plus, he can't be distracted when playing the piano. He didn't do anything wrong. Gaoya poked Sun Xiaoxuan's head and said, You're really infatuated with him. You're always on his side. Even his fart smells good. You should be a little more selfish. I'm already very selfish. Sun Xiaoxuan said this. She grabbed the handrail tightly and refused to get up. However, Gaoya was stubborn and insisted on pulling her up. When Lin Jingwei saw that the two of them were about to become the focus of the crowd, he said, How about this? Anyway, the audience hasn't left yet and there are too many people. It's not convenient for us to go backstage at this time. Why don't we wait for a while and go backstage when most people have left? Gaoya thought to herself that Lin Jingwei's words made sense. She sat down beside Sun Xiaoxuan, held her hand and said earnestly, Xiaoxuan, I know you're shy and considerate, but you can't always give up on things like this. It's useless to just talk. You have to take action. If you don't give up when I ask you to, then you have to be braver. Why would you give up when it's yours? Can you just listen to me for once? Sun Xiaoxuan nodded softly. Brother Guang. Run. Gaoyu will bring class president backstage later. On the other side, Lin Jingwei took out his cell phone while Gaoyu was talking to Sun Xiaoxuan. He pretended to be playing a game on his phone, but in fact he secretly sent a WeChat message to Qin Guang. On the other side, Qin Guang's surprise attack on Jiang Yage caused a sensation backstage. Jiang Yage also immediately realized that the situation was not right. She deserved to be called an old actor. She covered her mouth and said with a smile, "You did a good job today." With that said, she turned her head and cupped Jin Shiyue's face for a kiss. With this cover-up, the others backstage calmed down. Although Jiang Yage had never kissed on TV before, they were friends. Now that she was happy for Jiang Yage, it wasn't a big deal to kiss her, right? After being teased by Jiang Yage, Jin Shiyue felt that she was funny and envious of her. She was the one who had the upper hand, but in front of outsiders she was too reserved to do such a thing. "Come on, it can't be just the two of us. Sister Shiyue's here. You guys come too." Jiang Yage wasn't done yet. She pushed Jin Shiyue towards Qin Guang. Jin Shiyue stumbled from Jiang Yage's push. She fell forward and tripped on Qin Guang's foot. She screamed and was about to fall, but Qin Guang caught her by the waist. Qin Guang bent down slightly and looked down at Jin Shiyue. "Are you okay?" "No." Before Jin Shiyue could finish her words, Jiang Yage suddenly pressed hard on Qin Guang's head. Qin Guang's head drooped down. His lips were pressed on Jin Shiyue's mouth and he was blocked by her. Ever since they kissed in front of everyone at the concert last time, they kissed fiercely again in front of everyone today. A soft and moist touch came from his lips. A faint fragrance flowed from Jin Shiyue's face into his nose. Qin Guang was slightly absent-minded. Although this wasn't the first time he kissed her, the feeling was still indescribable. Her body seemed soft and weak, but her waist was very tactile. He couldn't feel the slightest bit of fat. He could feel the perfect lines of her body through her clothes. Jin Shiyue's face turned red in an instant like a ripe apple. She felt hot and her mind was suddenly empty. Not only did she not scream, but she also didn't try to push Qin Guang away. Instead, she subconsciously hugged Qin Guang's back with her hands. Qin Guang was caught off guard by Jiang Yage's reckless action. Just as he was about to push Jin Shiyue away, he felt his back being hugged by her. Not only that, she actually took the initiative to stretch her head out, turning the tables. Faced with her initiative, Qin Guang froze for a moment. A girl like this, if he pushed her away, she would lose face, right? Continue. All right. Jin Shiyue's tongue also stretched out. Qin Guang's teeth were forcefully pried open. Jin Shiyue's lilac was like a crazy snake, entangling with his tongue, constantly demanding for more. Qin Guang slightly narrowed his eyes. Looking at her blushing face and misty eyes, it was obvious that she was aroused. In the huge backstage, everyone's eyes were glued to the scene. Life winner, brother all-rounder. You call this a breakup? Fake love. Fake breakup? Are you guys kidding us? Do you think we're blind? It's hard to say about the boss's other abilities, but his ability to pick up girls is definitely the best in the world. Feng Tianyu quietly took out a cigarette, lit it and took a deep breath. The bright red cigarette burned brighter and brighter, and the hissing sound set off his melancholy. Lu Xiaoyang shook his head. "No, Xiaofeng, you're wrong. The boss's greatest ability is not to pick up girls." "Then what is it?" "Oh right, don't call me Xiaofeng." "Okay, Feng, the boss's greatest ability is to be picked up by girls." Feng, your sister. However, you're right. It's really enviable." Feng, don't envy him. If we have half of his ability, no 1/10 of his ability, you can do it too. Yu Hong didn't have time to joke with these two people. He was busy communicating with the headquarters of Tianguang Brokerage in Wujing. He asked them to come up with the first hydrology article within 10 minutes and the first technical analysis within half an hour. Within an hour, there must be a seemingly reasonable but actually full of loopholes as the negative side. After 1.5 hours, the positive side of the in-depth analysis must be out. Not only that, all these articles must be published in the domestic mainstream news media and social media, striving to cause the greatest impact in the country as soon as possible. This was Qin Guang's request. According to this step of hype, by this time tomorrow, Qin Guang's faith value would be full. In fact, this was also where Qin Guang was helpless. Although his ability was real, everyone had their own judgment concept. In the modern society, information was exploding. Everyone had to passively or actively receive too much information every day. If he didn't use hype to attract people's attention, they wouldn't look at your technical analysis carefully. They might even believe some rumors deliberately discredited by outsiders. For example, Tianguang's agent wanted to promote that Qin Guang's piano skills were genuine. On the other hand, there were bound to be people who wanted to attract attention, or perhaps they were driven by profits, or perhaps they just didn't like Qin Guang and deliberately slandered him as a fake. Because until now, there was still one thing that people couldn't understand which could easily become a reason for people to attack. That was the handling of long notes. Normally, playing with one hand for the keys that needed to be hit with both hands, it would be like a dragonfly touching the water. However, in Qin Guang's final ghost animal, and Law 3, there were many long notes that required both hands to press on the keys for a long time. Until now, many people couldn't understand the principle. However, Qin Guang wasn't worried because after the articles and videos of deep analysis were released, people would naturally understand the mystery. The reason wasn't complicated. That was, the speed of his hands moving was faster than the speed of the keys bouncing back. Therefore, even if it required both hands to press the keys for a long time, he could still complete it by swinging his arms. With 1,000 ravines in his chest, he naturally wasn't afraid of rumors. Since that was the case, it was better for Tianguang Brokerage to do these things first and control the direction of public opinion in his own hands. In this regard, Qin Guang was now in the honeymoon period with the mainstream higher-ups. Even the elders took the initiative to help him build a positive image. In the public opinion, Qin Guang had an innate advantage. Could be said to be twice the result with half the effort. If others wanted to find trouble with him and wanted to blackmail him, they would get half the result with twice the effort. In fact, he should have done these things in the past, but he didn't have much experience and didn't think of this problem. Even if he thought of it, there was no one who could use it. His own energy was also limited. Now, with such a big company like Tianguang Brokerage, although the boss, Qin Guang, was lazy and didn't like to manage things, Yu Hong and the others weren't young and inexperienced young people. They knew the principle of doing as much as they were paid. For some things, if Qin Guang took the initiative to point it out, Yu Hong and the others would know how to complete and promote it. Otherwise, even if Qin Guang didn't think of it, someone would think of it for him. At this moment, there were hundreds of people who were busy with Qin Guang's matters, but he himself was hugging Jin Shuiwei and kissing for a long time. If it wasn't for the phone ringing, the two of them wouldn't know how long the kiss would last. Jin Shuiwei woke up with a start and broke free. She covered her face and pulled Jiang Yage into the dressing room. She said, "We are going to change and remove our makeup." Qin Guang looked at the caller ID on his phone. It was Wu Tong. Speaking of which, it was thanks to her help today. Without her, the security of the concert wouldn't have reached this level. "Sister Wu Tong, how is it? Is the work done outside?" After walking to an empty corner, Qin Guang said, "You've worked hard today." Wu Tong spat at him over the phone. "Don't pretend to thank me. Don't I know you? You must be laughing at me in your heart. You must be thinking that if it wasn't for me today, your little ability wouldn't have been enough. How could that be? I really didn't think that way. Don't wrongly accuse me." Actually, Wu Tong wasn't wrong. Although she was the person in charge of the task force, the most important person who could remove the bomb and kill the 8 bandits was Qin Guang himself. He was the one who found the people in the bomb. Until now, Wu Tong was still thinking over and over in her mind. "Don't say that you're lucky. I don't believe it. You must have a way that I don't understand. Otherwise, how did you find the person for me? Also, when did you go to Africa and learn the Tubramula language? I'm not going to talk to you anymore. By the way, I'm still monitoring the situation of the audience leaving the venue. Don't leave. I'll come backstage to find you after I'm done here. I have something to ask you." Sai, wait. Okay, I'll hang up now. I'm busy. Wu Tong hung up the phone after she finished speaking. Qin Guang silently held his phone and thought about Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage in the dressing room. He suddenly got goosebumps all over. Wu Tong is coming over? Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage are still here. What is this? Retribution from both sides? The sudden appearance of the Shiraba? Wait, why did little Lin send me a WeChat message? When he opened WeChat, the poor Master Guang's face turned pale. What the hell? Sun Xiaoxuan is here too. He's also waiting for the audience to leave and will come backstage? Oh my god, you guys arranged this, right? Are you guys messing with me? I wasn't mentally prepared at all. Just like that it came. This is the legendary Shiraba. But this isn't right. If they asked themselves honestly, Qin Guang and everyone in Azura Arena were basically innocent. Although he had an ambiguous relationship with Wu Tong, the two of them had experienced life and death together. Especially since Wu Tong was also in an important position, She had the mindset that she might not be able to find the next meal. On the other hand, Qin Guang was a hot-blooded young man, so it wasn't his fault that he couldn't resist the temptation of his big sister. As for Jiang Yage, Qin Guang had always been in conflict with her. He wanted to keep his distance from her, but he couldn't do anything as she held on to his weakness. Back then, that incident happened in the washroom of the Inua clubhouse. As for Jin Shiyue and Sun Xiaoxuan, he didn't feel guilty even if he touched his conscience. But if he really put the four of them together, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. He would die of injustice. Qin Guang paced back and forth in the corridor alone, burning with anxiety. What should I do now? What should I do? Who has the most experience in dealing with the Shiraba? Brother Qing. Save me. Chapter 755. However, Brother Qing couldn't save Lord Guang at this moment because he was already immortal. He couldn't even save himself. Imitating him would only lead to death. Qin Guang sighed. Never mind, Brother Qing, please bless me. Say never mind. I'll pray for my own good. I, Qin Guang, hereby pray to the great Lord of the 3,000 worlds, the owner of the heavenly Holy Grail, the keeper of the Emperor of the Azure. Okay, the Savior. I pray to these great beings, that is, myself. No matter who it is, please teach me what to do. Sure enough, at this critical moment of life and death, the most reliable person is always himself. Just after he made his wish, his phone rang again. Qin Guang wanted to pinch it, but when he picked it up, he saw it was Jiang Yuanchao. That's right, it was the bald uncle from the military, Jiang Yage's father. Why is the bald uncle calling me at this time? Could it be that he's also watching me play the piano? Why is it so romantic? To pick up or not to pick up, that was the question. The phone kept ringing. After hesitating for more than 10 seconds, Qin Guang finally decided to pick up. Hello, is this Uncle Jiang? I'm Qin Guang, what's up? What Jiang Yuanchao said next made Qin Guang believe in fate. No, in his own divine power. Qin Guang, I know that you're currently in the National Gallery of Art. The reason why I'm making arrangements for you is because of the urgency of the situation. I've already sent a car over so you can wait outside the gallery right now. Urgent. How urgent? Must it be me? I can't tell you now, but it has to be you. Alright, no more nonsense, this is an order. Urgent mission. It has to be you. After that, Jiang Yuanchao hung up the phone as if he was really in a hurry. Holding on to his phone, Qin Guang wore a blank expression. Judging from Su Tao's tone, it sounded like the end of the world. What the hell is that? I'm so confused. Wait, he suddenly realized something. It didn't seem to be a bad thing for him now. His uncle had actually issued an urgent mission to him, the director of the Guangdong General Bureau, at such a critical moment. Yes, that's right, it was extremely urgent. He had to do it immediately and only he could go. Damn it, I've been ordered to run. Perfect. I'm sorry everyone. I'm going to save the world. Don't come looking for me. I'm not feeling well. I'll be leaving first. Run. He clapped his fist. Sigh, why didn't I think of that earlier? Seriously, those closely involved can't see clearly and I'm scaring myself. The so-called Azura field required everyone to gather together in order to become a true Azura field. It was precisely because he was here that the others came over. If he ran away first, they wouldn't come here. Why didn't he think of that just now? Well, to put it bluntly, he just lacked an excuse to escape. After all, Qin Guang prided himself on being a man. So what if he really entered the Azura arena? If things really get out of hand, I'll just quit. Well, I'm actually quite afraid, but it's fine now. I can't afford to offend you, but I can run away. Jiang Yuanchao's call came so suddenly, as if a savior had descended from the sky. Although the old man was young, he had a heavy responsibility. As the deputy director of the Guangdong General Bureau, I have to play a certain role in his position. It's not a problem for me to slack off and act like a boss. Since my uncle's urgent mission has come, then I'm sorry everyone, I have to go. I'm sorry, there's something urgent that I can't avoid. I have to go now. If there's anything else, we can talk later. It was just a text message. Qin Guang sent it to Sun Xiaoxuan, Wu Tong, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue. Then he put on a wig, a cap and a trench coat before sneaking out from the backstage passage. Hiding by the roadside and waiting for the car sent by Jiang Yuanchao, Qin Guang finally had the time to think about what Jiang Yuanchao had just said. What's going on? Must I, the director of the Guangdong General Bureau, show up? Who's so important that I have to go? I just asked Uncle Jiang, but he didn't say anything. He only said that he would find out when he got there. Really, how mysterious. In less than 10 minutes, a black car quickly approached from afar and stopped beside Qin Guang. When he opened the door, he saw familiar faces, Qian Ming and Haizi from the Shun Special Training Camp. Yo, you got promoted? Qin Guang sat in the back and joked when he saw that the epaulette on Qian Ming's shoulder seemed to have more stars than before. Qian Ming chuckled. Thanks to Chief Instructor Chen, Haizi and I have been transferred. Not bad, not bad. Work hard, young man. I have high hopes for you. Qin Guang said generously. Qian Ming, Chief Instructor, you really know how to chat. I don't know why, but I always feel that at my age I'm more than old enough to be your uncle. Forget it. You're the director of the Guangding General Bureau. You're the boss. You have the final say. If you say I'm a young man, then I'm a young man. On this side, Qin Guang simply ran away. This made Gaoya stomp her feet in anger. This guy, he must have something up his sleeves and wanted to run away. Little Lin, call him and ask him where he went. How could he have something urgent to run away at this time? I don't believe it. Lin Jingwei's mouth was wide open, his face full of confusion. In his impression, although Brother Guang often played tricks, there was no reason for him to run away when something happened. He tried to call Qin Guang, but on the other side, Qin Guang had decisively hung up. I can't get through. He turned off his phone. Lin Jingwei held the phone, his face full of confusion. It can't be. He did it so ruthlessly. Gaoya was at a loss. Lin Jingwei scratched his head. That's weird. It doesn't make sense. Could it be that something really happened? Right at this moment his phone rang. It was actually a call from his grandfather. Lin Jingwei quickly put his finger in front of his lips and shushed. It's my grandfather. Gaoya's eyes narrowed. The two of them had been dating for a few months now and their relationship had been stable. Lin Jingwei was also sincere and obedient to Gaoya. So, Gaoya had already told Lin Jingwei's family background. She knew who Lin Jingwei's grandfather was and she immediately became nervous. Jingwei, where are you? Are you at Qin Guang's piano concert? I'm here. What's the matter, grandfather? Good. Hurry up and inform Qin Guang. Tell him to wait outside. We have something urgent to talk to him. That's weird. We can't get through to him. He went out earlier and didn't tell us anything. He said it was an urgent matter. Is that so? It's good. It looks like he's already been informed. Alright, there's nothing else. You guys should go home and rest. Don't hang around outside. Learn from Qin Guang and do more serious things. With that, old Master Xing hung up. Lin Jingwei looked at Gaoya. Seems like Brother Guang really has something important to do. It's really your grandfather. Of course. Of course it's true. Gaoya finally stopped making a fuss. Although she was usually unruly, she was actually very sensible when it came to such matters. Otherwise, with Lin Jingwei's status, he wouldn't be so loyal to her. This was also why she was so cute. Instead, she comforted son Xiaoxuan. Hey Xiaoxuan, Qin Guang really has something important to do. It's very important. He definitely isn't hiding from you on purpose. She was actually very awkward. Without Lin Jingwei's permission, she couldn't tell anyone about his family. She knew that Lin Jingwei's grandfather had called and that it must be a big deal, but she couldn't tell Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan poked her waist. Do you think I'm like you? I know him. I also know that he must have something important to do to leave. Plus, I really can't go today. I can't go. Why? Gaoyu was confused. Sun Xiaoxuan first looked at Lin Jingwei. He didn't want to say it, but in the end he smiled bitterly and said, I told you I know him. If I really meet Jin Shuiwe today and embarrass him, I'll lose him forever. Up until now, he has never taken the initiative with me. That means that I'm not indispensable to him. He doesn't owe me anything and he doesn't have to make do with me. I'm the one who has been relying on him. In the past there was the incident with Pan Jiang. This time in Detroit on the plane, if it weren't for him I might have already died twice. Gaoya, I know you might look down on me. I can't even express my feelings clearly. But what did it matter? I'm willing to stand in the corner and quietly like him. Even if he doesn't want to accept it, even if he deliberately turns a blind eye to it, I don't mind. This is my truest feeling. I don't want to put him in a difficult position. I owe him 2.5 lives. How can I put him in a difficult position? When it comes to feelings, how can there be any fairness or unfairness? In fact, I can already feel that he has begun to avoid me. If I hadn't almost died in Detroit, he might have really chosen to forget me. That's what I'm most afraid of. Sun Xiaoxuan said calmly, but Gao Ya and Lin Jingwei were stunned by his words. Lin Jingwei knew more than Gao Ya. He could more or less understand Sun Xiaoxuan's feelings. He squeezed Gao Ya's hand tightly. Class president is right. On the other side, Wu Tong, Jin Shiyue, and Jiang Yage knew about Qin Guang's special identity. They didn't ask much, but they were secretly worried. What made Qin Guang so nervous? Qin Guang chatted with Qian Ming and Haizi, but they didn't know what was going on. The car drove all the way to the suburbs and drove straight into an Air Force base. When Qin Guang got out of the car, Jiang Yuanchao was already waiting there. Uncle Jiang, what's the matter? Jiang Yuanchao still didn't explain. Instead, he pushed him straight to the helicopter on the tarmac. Stop asking. It's urgent. Very urgent. You'll know when you get there. Huh. We're not there yet? No, you still have to take the helicopter. I don't know how long it'll take. Huh. Just like that, Qin Guang was pushed onto the helicopter in a daze. He wasn't worried that Jiang Yuanchao would sell him out. When he got on the helicopter, he noticed that the pilots weren't wearing military uniforms. Instead, they were two middle-aged men in black. Hi. The two of them ignored him. Their faces were stern. Oh, don't you understand human language? I'm greeting you. At this moment, Qin Guang started to feel unhappy. He had no idea what was going on. You guys said that you needed me, so I came. But in the end, you guys didn't even give me a proper explanation. Now you guys aren't even replying to me. How can you guys be so pretentious? Sorry, young master. This is our first time flying a plane. We're a little nervous, so we didn't dare to be distracted by talking to you. Don't worry. Our faction leader asked us to pick you up. The middle-aged man in front finally responded. As he spoke, he flipped through the manual and tried to pull the helicopter higher. He was really nervous. As he looked at the helicopter, he pulled it higher and asked the other man beside him, "Is this it? This is a promotion, right?" The other man also looked unreliable. Maybe, right? Qin Guang glared at him. This was the pilot's first time flying a plane. Uncle Jiang, you're messing with me. Get out of the way, you two. I'll do it. Young master, you know how to fly a plane. The man who spoke to him just now was pleasantly surprised. That's right, he looked like he was relieved. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Isn't that obvious? No one on Earth knows how to fly a plane better than me, okay? After a while, Qin Guang personally got onto the helicopter and pulled it higher. Following the route that the two men pointed out, he flew out under the cover of the night. After chatting with the two men for a while, he finally got to the bottom of the matter. When the two men called him young master just now, he had already guessed that they were probably sent by Wenwen. Sure enough, he was right. However, the two men had driven here. The reason why they were flying the helicopter back now was because there was a change in the situation and it was more urgent. However, the two men were hindered by the Wen family's rules and couldn't let the military follow them. Therefore, they bit the bullet and asked for the helicopter. While Qin Guang was rushing over, they even urged Jiang Yuanchao to get someone to dismantle the GPS system on the helicopter. Did the two of you eat bear bile? This is your first time flying a plane and you dare to fly it yourself? Qin Guang, the one with the least opinion, started lecturing the two middle-aged men as he sped up. We didn't want to, but the family said, "What happened? What happened to Wenwen?" "Son-in-law, we don't know either. She was fine earlier this afternoon. About an hour ago, our sect master suddenly felt unwell. At first she didn't say anything, but later on her consciousness blurred, and all she could do was call out your name. No one in the family could get close. Suzerain's chi energy leaked out and kept everyone several feet away. Anyone who dared to barge in would be injured." Qin Guang was shocked. Possessed? The two servants of the Wen family clearly didn't know the situation either. "We don't know either. We weren't in the family before this. We were also in Yanjing. Due to the urgency of the situation, the two of us hurried to take you home." After hearing this, Qin Guang felt anxious. He had heard from Xin Qin and Wu Miaoan that Wenwen's speed of improvement was beyond the common sense of all martial artists. He was a rare genius. At that time he only thought that Wenwen was a peerless genius. Now that he thought about it, there must be a hidden danger. She might really have been possessed by the devil. No wonder these two stubborn fellows were the best at pretending to know how to fly a plane. Fortunately, I know how to do it. Otherwise, we would all die together today. When you have to hang in there. Although I don't know what I can do to help, since you're still calling me when you're unconscious, how can I delay? Chapter 756. Qin Guang had never cultivated inner force before, so he did not know the theory behind qi deviation. He did not know what he could do there. But without a doubt, as an experienced reader of novels, he had a very good idea of what qi deviation was. How scary, how scary. One could go crazy at any moment, ascend to the sky at any moment, and explode on the spot at any moment. Oh right, did anyone in the Wen family experience qi deviation while cultivating the painting scroll? Qin Guang asked the two as he accelerated the helicopter. The two seemed a little awkward. The one who was more talkative just now scratched his head and said, "Young master, the two of us are actually just peripheral members of the family. We don't even have the right to go home unless there's an important matter in the family. Something like qi deviation should be a top secret of the family. The two of us really have no way of knowing." Qin Guang rolled his eyes and thought to himself, what a bunch of trash. What's the use of you two? You might as well go home and plant sweet potatoes. But from what we know, there has never been anyone in the family who experienced qi deviation from cultivating the painting scroll. Rumor has it that the painting scroll is different from ordinary cultivation techniques. It focuses more on internal cultivation. In the past, those who achieved great success in cultivating the painting scroll were all highly respected and talented elders in the family. They had a tough heart and advanced step by step. That's right, but compared to the elders and seniors in the past, our sect master's progress is indeed a little too fast. Unfortunately, we are all servants and have no right to see the painting scroll. We don't know the reason behind it, so we can only worry. Qin Guang shook his head. Forget it, it's fine. I'll go over and see what's going on. Maybe I can do something about it. About an hour later, the helicopter flew straight into a hill. According to Qin Guang's memory, this should be about 200 kilometers west of Beijing. A small county was located in the middle of the mountains. He did not know the name of this place. Son-in-law, we're almost there. After flying west for another 10 minutes or so, we'll reach a primeval forest. After flying past the primeval forest, there'll be a place. That place is called, what was it called again? According to modern scientists, that should be called a magnetic interference zone. When we get there, we have to land in advance and walk inside. When that time comes, you must follow us closely. The mountain is covered in fog all year round. If we get lost, I'm afraid things will become very troublesome. Don't worry about it. You two just need to run as fast as you can. I'll definitely be able to keep up. By the way, what's the name of this county? Qin Guang asked as he flew the plane. Son-in-law, this is Lingqiu County. Lingqiu? That's a good name. Qin Guang answered. Even in the night, he could vaguely see the mountains below. The trees on the mountains were lush and lush. When the late summer wind blew, the trees swayed. Coupled with the name of Lingqiu County, it really gave people a feeling of spiritual energy. The three of them parked the helicopter in a courtyard dam at the foot of the mountain. The gatekeeper of the courtyard dam came out. He was also a master of unique skills. He was no weaker than the martial artist of muscle strength that Qin Guang had dealt with outside Xishan town of Yanjing. A servant in black who accompanied him said, "Well, son-in-law, why don't you let us carry you? If we rush up the mountain from here, it will take at least half an hour. We're afraid." However, Qin Guang shook his legs and said, "Okay, don't talk nonsense. I can keep up." These two people's cultivation was only at bone strength, which was not as good as the two people who chased Qin Guang last time. With his unique skill, Wind God's legs, how could he not keep up? Okay. Since son-in-law has said so, let's go. Son-in-law, you have to keep up. The two only thought that Qin Guang was shy. A man didn't like being carried on someone's back, so he had to put up a strong front. Although they were a little unhappy and afraid that their lord's situation would change again, they couldn't force Qin Guang to let them carry him. They just planned to deliberately run faster so that he couldn't keep up. Then he would naturally know how powerful they were. The three of them immediately rushed into the mountain. Although they didn't say that they deliberately made things difficult for Qin Guang, they ran extremely fast and didn't hold back at all. 5 minutes later, the two found that the situation was not right. They had already tried their best, but Qin Guang really did as he said. He followed closely behind them and didn't fall behind at all. The two looked at each other and were confused. It didn't make sense. Everyone in the Wen family knew that although son-in-law was called a genius, he was just an ordinary person. Even with the help of the Lord, it was impossible for him to master inner strength. When they met before, the two also observed Qin Guang. Although he looked stronger than ordinary people, his dantian was empty. There was indeed no inner strength. The two of them were not ordinary inner strength martial artists but bone strength masters. Perhaps son-in-law was gritting his teeth and holding on? The two quietly looked back and then stared at him. They almost didn't want to say anything. This master's face was not red and he didn't even pant. His steps were even more stable than the two of them. 10 minutes later, the two who didn't believe it turned back again. It was the same as before. This master was still steadily following them. Did he mean that he only used his physical strength to completely keep up with the two of them? This was ridiculous. I say, can you two hurry up? I'm very anxious. Well, he actually rushed them. That son-in-law, we've already done our best. Qin Guang curled his lips and complained in his heart. No wonder the two of you can only be peripheral members. Your lord is about to explode on the spot. Why aren't you guys using the 10,000 miles blood escape technique? And you're telling me that you've done your best? Actually, he really couldn't be blamed for being so heartless. It was as if he could vaguely feel that Wenwen's situation wasn't right. He also couldn't tell where this feeling came from. Telepathy and whatnot had no scientific basis, but he just happened to know. Alright, anyway, there were already quite a number of unscientific supernatural incidents happening to him. One more wouldn't make a difference, one less wouldn't make a difference. There was no need to worry about these. As he ran behind the two in front, he touched the satchel at his waist. Inside it was the heavenly Holy Grail. It seemed that this feeling of unease was coming from the Holy Grail? That's strange. Why would Wenwen have any connection with the heavenly Holy Grail? At this moment, a few kilometers away, in the depths of a huge courtyard built on a steep cliff, Wenwen was sitting cross-legged in the middle of a courtyard house. Her eyes were tightly shut and her brows were slightly furrowed. Waves of terrifying pain surged from her abdomen like a tidal wave, attacking her brain continuously. Bean-sized droplets of sweat continuously emerged from her temples and slid down her face, dripping onto the ground. Her face revealed a struggling expression from time to time, as if she was enduring unbearable pain with extreme difficulty. The pain in her abdomen was caused by the 7-star chain that had been residing in her dantian for a long time. Since the beginning, for some unknown reason, the 7-star chain had started to tremble violently without any warning. It was completely out of her control and rampaged about in her dantian, as if it was being summoned by something from afar, as if it wanted to rush out of her dantian. How could this be? Wenwen immediately sat cross-legged and began to meditate. She circulated her qi in an attempt to suppress this strange 7-star chain. Unfortunately, the more she tried to suppress it, the more violent the backlash and impact became. Even more frightening was that as time passed, the 7-star chain's impact on her abdomen became even more violent. It was the same situation as when Qin Guang had gotten close to her. Her mind was completely uncontrollably filled with all kinds of charming and gentle illusions. Over and over again, it was a certain night when she had knocked Qin Guang unconscious and straddled him with her legs. In the past, she had been unable to resist this kind of illusion. Now that it was so violent, it was even more difficult to resist. Thus, when she had temporarily lost control, she had opened her mouth and shouted Qin Guang's name. But now, with the help of the 7-star chain, she had advanced extremely far in the Wenzhong realm. Her cultivation was profound, and although she had lost control for a moment, she could rely on her astonishing willpower and powerful cultivation to temporarily control her state of mind. But in the end, this was only treating the symptoms and not the root cause. The 7-star chain in her dantian never stopped trembling. The charming and gentle scenes that caused her face to flush, her heart to race, and her mind to lose control became even more intense. She couldn't control it at all. This thought seemed to come from the depths of her soul and was engraved into her instincts. I'm not going to die here, right? Could it be that I've really gone berserk? This is probably retribution. I should have realized that a normal painting scroll wouldn't be able to advance so quickly. I should have paid attention to the 7-star chain in my dantian and not blindly immersed myself in the rapid advancement they brought. After a brief moment of clarity, Wenwen slowly opened her eyes, and the expression on her face relaxed a little. But not long after, her entire body shook violently again. With her as the center, a terrifying force of qi swept out in all directions. This time even the limestone walls of the small courtyard collapsed. Go. All of you, get away from me. Wenwen's eyes widened in anger, and her long hair moved without any wind. The other members of the Wen clan who were secretly hiding nearby quickly turned around and ran into the distance. Earlier, someone had tried to sneak up on her, but a force of qi had leaked out and struck him in the chest. 5 of his ribs were broken and his dantian was almost shattered. The current Wenwen was too terrifying. After waiting for everyone to leave, Wenwen's entire body was weak. She leaned sideways and supported herself on the ground. She moaned softly and sweat dripped down more and more fiercely. She tried to clamp her legs together, but there was already a tidal wave between her legs and she couldn't stop it at all. Her consciousness began to blur again. Qinguang, where are you? After about a minute she finally sat up straight again, but she knew that she didn't have much time left. Every time she forcefully suppressed this kind of impact, the next time it came would be even more violent. The longer she lost consciousness, the more intense the tearing pain from her dantian would be. She really didn't know how long she could hold on. Perhaps she would lose her intelligence and become a madman? It was also possible that it would explode like an inflated balloon. Taking advantage of this brief moment of clarity, she gathered her inner qi in her palm and raised it high. She hesitated, wondering if she should strike her own head with her palm and simply die, putting an end to all her troubles. But in the end she couldn't make up her mind. She still had a lot of things to do and she couldn't die now. On the other side, Qinguang also noticed that the fluctuation coming from Wenwen's side was getting more and more intense. Finally, he couldn't stand the slow speed of the 2 guys in front of him. Do you have a map? I'm asking you if you have a map. You're too slow. Yes. 30 seconds later, Qinguang took a map printed on silk and fiercely threw himself into the depths of the forest. The searchlight on his head flickered. After a few ups and downs, he completely left the 2 bone strength martial artists behind. Chapter 757. However, the 2 of them felt weak. They were completely exhausted. What the hell? Are the son-in-law's legs made of oil? It doesn't make sense. Don't ask me, I don't know either. If he didn't have something special, how could he be the son-in-law? That's right. As Qinguang traversed through the forest, he called out to Liuli in his heart. But it was a pity that after he squeezed her dry on the plain, she had really given up this time. There was no one in Yunqing at all. Booming. Where's Sister Liuli? The deer cry fruit shook its big fruit. Guess my ass. Be serious, it's urgent and crucial. Lu Ming was unhappy. Boy, be more respectful to me. I'm a god emperor at the same level as your sister Liuli. Your disparity in treatment makes me very unhappy, okay? Besides, you should give up. This time Sister Liuli really can't help you. She's had enough of you. Do you see the pile of leaves on top of my head? She wanted me to put her inside so that you wouldn't see her and your heart wouldn't be disturbed, okay? I know what you're anxious about. Anyway, you're not the one who wants to die. Sister Liuli and I don't care, okay? As if to emphasize her tone, she actually learned Mandarin and English on the spot. Don't be like this. That's not good, right? There's nothing bad about it. Go away, you greedy little boy, don't bother me. Lu Ming said, and then there was no more movement. Qinguang moved a little closer, found the depression that he had touched last time and touched it. Can I have some more Shenlu oil? Bang. Oh, you're good. Qinguang gave the Lu Ming fruit this leaf directly out of Yunqing. Alas, he really couldn't count on them. Gritting his teeth, Qinguang could only continue charging forth. In any case, he would deal with whatever came his way after reaching his destination. In front of him was a long iron chain bridge stretching from the bottom to the top. The feeling of uneasiness in his heart became more and more intense, and his calves turned faster and faster. "Bowen, don't panic. I'm coming. I'll save you." 5 minutes later, he finally stood under a tall memorial arch, panting. Looking up, he saw 3 bold and forceful characters that looked like they had been chiseled by a knife. Wenzonga Pavilion. This was the Wen family's headquarters. The headquarters was built in the mountains on the side of a cliff, and there was a natural magnetic barrier. In addition, it was shrouded in fog all year round, and the outside was filled with ferocious beasts, wolves and venomous snakes. It was no wonder that no one could find it. Qin Guang raised his head and looked inside. He seemed to sense that Wenwen was about 500 meters away from him. He took large strides, passed through the memorial arch and stepped onto the steps. Suddenly his entire body shook. It was just a step away, but he was actually so cold that his entire body shivered. This Wenzonga pavilion was truly strange. It was as if there was a natural invisible barrier. Just one step would cause the temperature to rise by at least 5 degrees. However, he didn't have much time to be puzzled because as he took this step, many people rushed out from the forest beside him. Who? To dare barge into the Wen family at night, you're courting death. Son-in-law. Quick, report to the elders. Son-in-law is here. Son-in-law, follow us. Son-in-law, you're too slow. We'll carry you. Qin Guang was facing the sky. 2 Pai Jing experts lifted him by his legs and his back. They lifted him above his head and carried him forward. A chilly wind blew from the top of his head. Qin Guang, who had a blank expression on his face, had a vague feeling. He remembered the ancient palace dramas he had watched. When the imperial concubines were about to be favored by the emperor, they would be washed white, then wrapped in wool satin, and carried by eunuchs across half the palace to the emperor's bedchamber. You guys, son-in-law, don't speak. Conserve energy. Wait. What's with conserve energy? I can't wait. 3rd aunt and 7th aunt are here. I'll leave him to you. In the next moment 2 more people carried Qin Guang. They were the 2 older aunties, but their strength was also at the peak of Pai Jing. The poor Master Guang didn't have any strength to resist at all. Wait. Don't take off my clothes. I can't wait. At least leave me with my bag. The things in it are very important to me. 10 seconds later, Qin Guang awkwardly wrapped the bag around his waist to cover his embarrassment. Oh no, I'm naked. I'm not wearing anything. No, I still have a bag to cover me a little. Could it be that Wenwen didn't simply go berserk? Qin Guang recalled a scene. Once he got close to Wenwen, she would clamp her legs together and lose control. It was clearly a sign that she had lost control of her emotions. Could it be that I'm personally piloting an armed helicopter to deliver a gun from 1,000 miles away? Oh my, why am I so professional? I'm so high-end. And 3rd aunt, can you close my legs a little more? A little shameful. Although these 2 aunties looked very old, their walking speed was no joke. When the cold wind blew, their little buttocks felt cold. However, what was even more impressive was the way they grabbed onto Qin Guang's clothes. They didn't put him down at all. Instead, they held him up high and pulled on his clothes with their palms. The high-quality, high-end goods, that were worth hundreds of dollars each, were no different from a layer of paper in the hands of these 2 experts at the peak of Pai Jing. With a crack, they tore his clothes into pieces. The 2 of them didn't raise their heads throughout the whole process, nor did they look at Qin Guang. Other than grabbing his legs and supporting his back, they didn't touch any other parts of Qin Guang's body. They were as sharp as a butcher dismembering an ox. The further he went, the closer he got to Wenwen. Qin Guang felt a strong sense of calling from Wenwen. He started to feel lost. He didn't know whether he was excited or the heavenly Holy Grail. No, to be more precise, he was brought along by the heavenly Holy Grail to the point where he couldn't control himself. Son-in-law, if we go any further, we won't be able to get close. You'll have to rely on yourself from now on. You must save Lord Sect Leader. 7th aunt, who was holding on to Qin Guang's back, suddenly said. 3rd aunt, who was behind him, also said, Son-in-law, please bear with it. We'll throw you over now. It's all up to you. Qin Guang bent his head back slightly. From afar he saw Wenwen sitting cross-legged behind the rubble formed by the collapsed wall. Unfortunately, the distance was too far and the lighting was too poor. He could only vaguely see her figure. The terrain in front seemed to be lower. The Wen clan's most secretive sect leader's residence was built at the lowest point of the Wenzonga pavilion by the cliff. To be honest, they're still 100 meters from here. You can consider putting me down and letting me walk over on my own. It'll be safer this way. His whole body flew in the air, spinning and flying forward like a cannonball. Qin Guang actually wanted to scold them, but these two were his elders. He really couldn't bring himself to scold them. They must have a screw loose in their brains. Can't they just let me walk on my own? Although you'll need to throw me faster, I'm already here. Is there a need to fight for such a little bit of time? There's no need, right? Forget it. I'm a man. I'm already flying in the air anyway. This isn't a problem for me. This parabola looked a little scary, but with the time spent in the air with the old man's balance, he would be able to adjust his posture. When the time came, his feet would land steadily. With the strength of eeless legs and an appropriate lazy donkey roll multiplied by 3.5, he would be able to complete a 3.5-turn dog crawling landing. He was getting closer and closer to the ground. He was also getting closer and closer to Wenwen, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. Come on. It's time to show the strongest floor exercise that has been lost in the pugilistic world for a long time. Qin Guang's gaze focused and his muscles tightened. He was unprecedentedly nervous. Pull your heads back. Squat down. Everyone squat down. All disciples of the Wen family, listen up. Anyone who dares to peep on the Lord and the son-in-law will be executed immediately. If you don't want to live, stretch out your neck. Otherwise, you'll squat down obediently for me. Second great uncle, please squat down too. The Lord is now in the Wenzong realm. She has an extraordinary temperament. If she wants to kill you, we won't be able to protect you. On the other side, at least 300 meters away, dozens of Wen family women and female elders were patrolling around vigilantly. Other than the stubborn second great uncle, no one dared to stretch out their necks. However, after being warned once, the second great uncle immediately shrank his neck back. Although it was a pitch-black night and they were 300 meters away, even a Pi-gene expert wouldn't be able to see anything. However, this was a serious matter. The thousands of people in the Wenzong pavilion were all on standby. No one dared to be careless. Just as one of the old women with a staff said, those with bad intentions would be executed immediately. Qin Guang didn't know what was happening behind him. He was still trying his best to adjust his posture in the air. After a great deal of effort, he finally put his legs in front of him. Although the wind blowing from his empty legs was exceptionally cold, as long as his feet touched the ground first, what did the cold wind matter? Suddenly, a scream came from the ground below. Qin Guang. It was Wenwen's voice. But her tone was extremely strange. It was sharp, ear-piercing, and carried a strong sense of hysteria. It was completely different from the confident, calm, and extremely manly Miss Wen in Qin Guang's memory. Qin Guang looked over again. Oh, where was she? Wasn't she there just now? Where did she run off to? Don't run. Catch me. What nonsense about turning 3.5 times on the ground was complete nonsense. If I fall like this, I'll be meat paste, okay? Just as he was thinking about this, his whole body suddenly trembled. A warm embrace. Wait, I'm a real man. Wenwen's embrace is not warm at all. It's just that my landing posture is not right and I need a little help from her. In short, he was successfully caught by Wenwen in the air. Obviously, third aunt and seventh aunt threw him over like a discus because they were sure that Wenwen would catch him. Being carried by Wenwen in the air, Qin Guang turned his head and widened his eyes. He saw Wenwen's blushing face. Even if it was nighttime, her face was flickering with a pink radiance. At such a close distance, Qin Guang could see her face clearly. Her eyes were very blurred, as if she wanted to eat someone. Are you okay? Wenwen didn't speak. Instead, she suddenly twisted his body, lifted her legs, and straddled him like a horse. Wait, we're still in the air. We're still landing. They're still about 10 meters below us. It was useless. It was useless no matter what he said. Under the impact of the 7 stars, Wenwen, who had already endured to the extreme and was about to self-destruct in the next moment, had completely lost her mind. Just like Harry Potter riding on the magic broom, she pressed her palm on the magic broom's lower abdomen and injected her inner strength. The magic broom was like a withered tree coming back to life, and a branch emerged from the middle. The sect master's eyes flashed with red light. She spread her legs and released her inner strength. The martial arts pants under her robe were torn apart, and then she rode on the magic broom fiercely. At this moment, there was only one thought in old Master Guang's mind. The old man was so far away, there was no one else. The old man was pushed down again. In the air, he was going to fall. Oh my God. Chapter 758. Qin Guang sensed the rapidly descending height and knew that the ground behind him was getting closer and closer without looking back. Sigh, I'm pushed back every day and I can't stop or block it. My posture is getting more and more advanced and my methods are getting wilder and wilder. Don't tell me I'm going to outer space next time? It's like this every time. To be honest, it's actually quite the feeling. Can't I really be normal for once? The old man is a 7-foot man and a reputable figure after all. It's actually quite awkward for him to be like this all the time. So I forget it. After all, I'm handsome and I can't stop my charm. I'm always pushed back. It's all my fault. It's the world's fault. But there's a problem. We're about to land soon. If we keep hitting the ground like this, won't we die? When hurry up and wake up. Although my pile driver is cheering, I'm very flustered. However, this docking position was undoubtedly unprecedented. As a veteran pilot, Lord Guang had given the duo a new name for their current position: refueling in the air technique. That's right, the old man is a cute air refueling machine. That was why human potential was so terrifying, and the speed of thinking was so fast. Falling from a height of more than 10 meters, in just a few seconds his mind was experiencing a different feeling, and at the same time he was thinking of so many random thoughts. He really can't be blamed for not being focused. No matter who it was, they probably wouldn't be able to calm down if they encountered such a unique situation. All of this took a long time to describe, but it actually only took 2 to 3 seconds from the magic broom sprouting to the two of them landing on the ground. However, Qin Guang's back did not immediately slam into the ground. In that instant when he landed on the ground, Wenwen seemed to have regained some of her rationality. She suddenly clamped her legs together, bent her knees and supported Qin Guang's waist with her legs. She arched her body slightly and reached out with both hands to grab onto Qin Guang's shoulders. Then again, if Qin Guang only managed to support himself in this manner, he would only end up with his neck broken from the impact of the fall. Although he had trained many parts of his body far beyond the limits of a normal person, he had never trained his waist, abdomen and neck. His spine was only slightly stronger than a normal person's, so it was impossible for him to withstand the impact when he landed on the ground. But at this point he couldn't break free from Wenwen's control. He could only focus all his strength on his neck and waist, praying that he could withstand the impact. His abdomen and head were still falling under the violent pulling force, but his waist and shoulders, which were stuck by Wenwen, were stabilized. The strong force hit him, making him think that his body was going to be torn apart. I didn't expect that after I became the first man to have sex in freefall, I would immediately become the first man to die in freefall. I became number 1 in 2 worlds at once. How embarrassing. That being said, he really didn't expect that he hadn't seen Wenwen for a long time. The last time he did something with her, he was unconscious and didn't know what happened. When he asked her afterward, she wouldn't admit it even if he beat her to death. Now you can't deny it, right? If I can live, let's see if you still dare to be arrogant in front of me in the future. Dying under a peony flower, becoming a ghost is also a romantic. My life is worth it. His neck was getting longer and longer and his spine seemed to be really about to break. Okay, actually I don't really want to die. I say, Wenwen, quickly wake up or else I'm really going to explode. His prayer didn't work. Wenwen bent down and squatted in a very non-standard posture. Her feet were firmly planted on the ground, and she was as stable as Mount Tai, but her mouth was letting out a desperate moan. At other times this moan would definitely make Qin Guang blush and his heart beat faster, but now, I'm done for, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. She didn't show any signs of waking up at all, completely immersed in it. Wake up a little and give me a way to live. I'm not a one-time consumable, can I continue to develop? Forget it, I'm finished, I admit defeat. When a person is about to die, his brain also works fast. From the moment Wenwen's feet were planted on the ground, Qin Guang erupted with the power of lightning, and like a machine gun he crazily complained in his heart. In just a few tenths of a second, his complaints actually added up to almost a 20-minute episode of Kill Memories. In the distance, the old woman with a cane who was quietly sizing up this side kept staring at them. Wenwen was wearing a martial arts robe, so there was no risk of her being exposed. Even if the old woman knew that these two people had successfully connected, she still couldn't see anything clearly. In the old woman's eyes, from the moment Wenwen caught Qin Guang, turned over and got on the horse, and then fell to the ground like a meteorite, it happened in an instant. There was a loud noise, smoke and dust everywhere, and gravel cracked and scattered in all directions. When the smoke and dust slowly dissipated, both Wenwen and Qin Guang had disappeared into thin air, leaving only a big pit. On the other side, Qin Guang, who originally thought that he would definitely be torn apart, suddenly felt that the force pulling him down was lighter, and the two people who had clearly fallen to the ground continued to fall. No way. So fierce? The ground cracked? Did it have to be so earth-shaking? Wasn't this power a little too fierce? No. The bottom of the ground was originally empty. Just as he thought after Wenwen's feet landed on the ground, it was unknown if it was because the force of the fall was too heavy, or if Wenwen had deliberately released her inner force through her feet, but cracks appeared on the ground where her feet were standing like a spider web, spreading out in all directions. Then the crack suddenly exploded and the two of them fell down at the same time. The force pulling Qin Guang's body immediately loosened. I don't have to die, I really don't have to die this time. It was truly a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour. Qin Guang's body slowed down and he managed to hold on. It was really dangerous just now. If this had continued for a few tenths of a second, his spine would have been torn apart and his neck would have been completely broken. No matter what was down there, it could not possibly be a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, right? Besides, there was Wenwen. He would not die. Qin Guang, who had escaped death, was overjoyed. As he fell, he looked at the gravel flying past his head. He did not know if the gravel was flying upwards or if his falling speed was faster. Forget it, that was not important. What was important was that the old man was now under the peony flower. He did not have to die. At that moment he finally had the mood to carefully analyze the inner force expert who had been tempered 1,000 times. Perhaps she was also the strongest heroine in the entire pugilistic world. That tender cough. In short, it was perfect. There was no excess fat, impeccable, tight, very good wrapping. Cough. To sum it up in one word, awesome. In short, to be able to have something happen between him and Wenwen in a sober state was really too happy. The so-called winner in life was just like that. You can't lie to me anymore. Don't even think about saying that there is no relationship between us. I will let you have a taste of the power of the old man pile driver. Eat my piercing cloud spear. Qin Guang used a little bit of strength and tried to push his waist up a little bit. His whole body was independent from top to bottom. When his waist went up, his head unconsciously leaned back a little. So sometimes people really should not be too complacent. The phrase extreme joy turns to sorrow was really not a joke. If he had obediently bent his neck and straightened it, perhaps nothing would have happened. But when he bent his neck back, it immediately exploded. Bang! The back of his head was hit by a rock the size of a watermelon. His head buzzed as if someone had hit it with a hammer. So dizzy. Am I going to faint just like this? No. Persevere. Persevere is victory. Qin Guang's eyes were wide open. He clenched his teeth tightly and clenched his fists tightly. I can't faint, I absolutely can't faint. After a few seconds, the dizziness finally subsided. Qin Guang let out a long breath. He withstood it. Thank God. Bang. Bang. Bang bang bang. My Miss Wen, can you help me block some stones? You don't have the mood like this. Finally, his head tilted and he directly fainted. He didn't even know whether he had changed into a Buddha's head or not. With a plop, the two of them fell into a pool of water. This was the secret of the Wen family. The pool hidden under the patriarch's residence was called the Hooking Jade Pool. There was a spring hidden in it. Not only was it as warm as summer all year round, but the spring water in the Hooking Jade Pool was also full of elements, which could help martial artists cultivate their breath. Of course, in the past it was said to be a spiritual spring which contained spiritual energy. However, as early as 10 years ago, the Wen family had secretly taken the water from the Hooking Jade Pool for testing. It was confirmed that this was a rare mineral water that was rich in mineral elements. It was non-toxic and harmless and was beneficial to the human body. There was no such thing as an incredible spiritual energy. After falling into the water, Wenwen still hadn't recovered her senses. She could only rely on her instincts to float on the water with Qin Guang. Not only that, she used her inner strength to completely shatter the martial attire she was wearing. Qin Guang's bag was also violently torn off by her and thrown to the side of the pool. From then on, the two naked people tangled with each other in the underground pond. Not only did they not separate, they became even tighter and tighter. Normally, Qin Guang's combat power index was extremely terrifying. He was the most powerful pile driver in history, which made people fear him. After fainting, his senses were greatly weakened. With the nourishment of the hooking jade pool, his combat power increased even more. If Wenwen was still conscious, she would definitely remember the fear of being dominated. But now she only had her instincts and was fearless. The rocks near the hooking jade pool glowed faintly with a faint green fluorescence, illuminating the pool. The sound of water splashing could be heard everywhere. The huge hooking jade pool seemed to be boiling. It was obvious how fierce the fight between the two was. The Wen family watched from afar. Only the old woman with a cane and a few other women dared to gather their courage and go a little closer. They could vaguely hear the sound of water that didn't stop. They finally felt at ease. About half an hour later, Qin Guang slowly woke up. After organizing his thoughts briefly, he understood his current situation. He made up his mind and simply turned the tables. He didn't know the principle behind Wenwen's qi deviation, but his current situation reminded him of a movie he had seen. Yes, it was the scene in Stephen Chow's version of The Deer and the Cauldron, when Wei Xiaobao and the Holy Maiden of the Divine Dragon Order fought to the end. In short, settle the qi deviation, and that was it. Come on, let's fight to our heart's content. Chapter 759. Eat my charge drill. Shameless, how dare you use your inner force to suck me? I won't let you succeed. The pile driver will never be a slave. So strong suction. Is this the legendary Rasengan? It doesn't matter, I'm serious, I'm going to increase the gear. Second gear pile driver. Don't pinch so hard, you cheater. My stomach hurts. Third gear pile driver will teach you how to be a man. The battle between the two became more and more intense. It was dark, the sun and the moon lost their light. Well, it was nighttime now. Time flew and another hour or so had passed. Unknowingly, the 7 stars in Wenwen's body that were originally crazily agitated slowly calmed down. The impact it brought also gradually subsided. After all, the charming scene that appeared in her mind before had now become a more intuitive reality. She was busy with the real battle. How could she have the time to care about what was in her mind? Aside from that, when Qin Guang and Wenwen got close to each other, the 7 stars of the mysterious Big Dipper became more active at the start. But as time passed, the power of the transcendent Holy Grail that bound Qin Guang's body slowly spread out, enveloping Wenwen as well. The 7 stars of the mysterious Big Dipper seemed to have met its natural enemy and gradually calmed down. The feeling of her mind being devoured gradually dissipated from Wenwen's mind. She gradually woke up. However, Qin Guang had no idea about it. He was still gritting his teeth as he struggled and muttered. Hold on. I must hold on. I won't wake up. The tower won't fall. I won't retreat. Oh ma, my waist is a little sore. Why is it not over yet? Why, I can't accept this, it's an unfair victory. I have a body full of martial arts, but my waist is so tired. That's right, although he had the strongest pile driver in history, his waist was still sloppy. He could only blame himself for working too hard. He wanted Wenwen to wake up quickly. He had to take the initiative to attack. His waist was really tired. In the end, after attacking for a full hour and a half, the enemy's firepower was still overwhelming. Although our vanguard general was also fierce, the logistics troops were going on strike. Now that he was talking about this, it wasn't because he wanted to do something but because he was cheering himself on. But even so, he still persevered and did not give up until the very last moment. Now that she is suffering from qi deviation and is in a dangerous situation, how can I not give my all until my last breath? This was the responsibility of a man. To save the common people as his own responsibility, he would not give up until he saw the Yellow River, and he would not shed a tear until he reached the Yellow Springs. The old man was that strong. No, let me take a breather first. I'll lie down and don't move. Let her fend for herself. If this goes on, my kidney is going to break. At this time, Qin Guang did not notice that the misty expression on Wenwen's face was gradually fading, and the faint pink glow on her face was also gradually dimming. Half of her body floated in the hooked jade pool. Although she wasn't wearing anything, she felt warm and didn't feel cold at all. Wenwen slowly opened her eyes and looked at Qin Guang in front of her. In an instant she understood what kind of situation the two of them were in. If it was any other woman, she would probably exclaim, scream, and be hysterical. At the very least she would cover her mouth and let out a cry, then quickly push him away. But Wenwen didn't do that. She used about 20 seconds to carefully recall what had happened today. That's right, around 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening she, who was arranging the documents, suddenly felt uncomfortable. Then she lost control of the 7 stars in her abdomen, and after that her memory was only left with intermittent fragments of lucidity. The speed at which she returned to the chaos was too fast, and the time when she was awake was too short. She only knew that the 7 stars in her dantian, which had benefited her greatly, had completely lost control. Then she vaguely remembered that when Qinguang was close to her he seemed to have a similar feeling. But this time he was clearly not by her side. Wenwen vaguely remembered that when she seemed to be at her wit's end, she seemed to have mentioned the name Qinguang to the other people in the family. But after that, how many times she said it and how long she waited, she had no memory at all. She only remembered that at a certain point in time, she seemed to have completely lost all her memories and thinking ability. Her dantian was boiling like a volcano and it was difficult to control. What she did next, she had almost no memory. She vaguely remembered that she caught Qinguang in the air, and then the two of them began to refuel in the air. Although she clearly knew that this had happened just now in her memory, it was as far back as 10 years ago. It could be seen how chaotic her mind was just now, to produce this sense of dislocation in time. Then the question is, what should I do now? Perhaps it was driven by instinct, or maybe it was the pull of inertia. Although Wenwen had already woken up, she did not stop taking the initiative to attack. But when she thought of what to do, she finally stopped. Qinguang sensed that the situation was not right and opened his eyes to look at her. With the light from the fluorescent stone, he saw that she was also staring straight at him with a pair of beautiful eyes. Her face was no longer as perplexed as before, but instead revealed a trace of distress and entanglement. "You're awake?" Qinguang was overjoyed and asked. "No. You've already spoken and you still say that you're not awake." Qinguang deliberately twisted his waist left and right. He. I heard that there's nothing going on between us? Wenwen felt strange. The power of this guy's pile driver was really terrifying. The blush on her face that had not dissipated became even more intense, and her pretty face was even hotter, as if it was more dizzy than when she lost her mind earlier. Perhaps it was due to the internal energy being stimulated. Her whole body began to faintly emit a pink shimmer. Under the illumination of the green fluorescent stone, her whole body was suffused with a purple glow. Don't move. Aren't you acting shamelessly? There's really nothing going on between us. This is an illusion. Yes, you've been hypnotized by me using my internal energy, so what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling now are all illusions. Even if she was a goddess, she would also act shamelessly. It wasn't that Wenwen didn't have the ability to lie with her eyes open, it was just that she didn't bother to use it in the past. At this moment, in this special situation, she could also act shamelessly. Qinguang's eyes widened. The old man had traveled in the pugilistic world for hundreds of years, and he had seen many shameless people, but he had never seen someone as shameless as you. Hallucination, my ass. In fact, Wenwen herself also felt that her words were quite unconvincing, but she really didn't know how to face the current situation. She was more worried about the situation inside her dantian. Although that strange 7 stars no longer randomly attacked and returned to its previous position, it was a little different from the normal situation. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but Wenwen actually felt that the 7 stars in her dantian were slightly trembling, and the frequency was the same as a human's heartbeat. She placed her hand on Qinguang's chest and was even more surprised to find that the frequency of the 7 stars trembling was actually the same as Qinguang's heartbeat. Why is this? It's so strange. Could it be that my internal energy has some kind of mysterious connection with him? I say, can we stop just touching? Why don't you move? It's really not that I'm slacking off, but you don't know how hard I tried to wake you up just now. My waist almost broke. Alright, don't be in a daze. The rice has already been cooked. Please be a little more conscious, understand my hard work and take the initiative. Thank you. Qinguang's heart was uncomfortable. He originally thought that he could only save her after she ascended to the sky, and at that time he should be in position. Now you woke up early, but I'm still hanging in the air. It's really worse than death. Unexpectedly, Wenwen suddenly pulled away and completely separated from Qinguang. If there was a sound when a heart broke, Qin Guang's ears would definitely be ringing. Hey, this isn't appropriate. But his fist is bigger, so he has the final say. Forget it, let me die here. Living is really not fun at all. However, Wenwen ignored his tricks and simply lifted Qin Guang. With a little strength, her whole body floated up from under the water. Then she stepped on the water surface and quickly pulled him to the shore of the hooked jade pool. After putting Wenwen down, Qin Guang sat on the ground again with his back aching and his whole body weak. He simply lay down flat on his back. Wenwen secretly glanced at the space between his legs and blushed again. However, she immediately reacted. Alright, don't blush. Both of them were not wearing it. Just now it was a negative distance situation. You take a good rest first. I have to meditate and look inside. Although practicing martial arts can constantly increase my strength, it is also full of danger. The situation we encountered today is unprecedented. I have to be vigilant. Wenwen saw that his face was full of disappointment. She found it funny and felt guilty at the same time, so she explained. Alright. I know you are a martial arts expert. Maybe one day when you are strong enough, you can break through the void like Lang Fanyun and Evil Master Pang Ban. Stop talking nonsense. I'm meditating. Alright, you are an illusion now. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Yes, I know. This is really a night of wind and rain, but the spring dream is gone without a trace. My little heart really hurts from time to time. Alright. Wait for me to finish my work. At most we will talk about it. Wenwen was really soft-hearted and gave Qin Guang another sweet taste. Actually, Qin Guang's waist was a little tired. Although it did not break when he fell from the sky, there were some hidden injuries. After entering the water, he did not think about recuperating. He only wanted to fight 300 rounds with Miss Wen and kill her Qigong deviation. In the end, both of them were in good condition. Before he could kill the horse, his waist was about to break. It was time for a rest. But on the other side, Wenwen soon realized that something was wrong. Just now when the two of them separated, the 7 stars in her dantian that had settled down suddenly showed signs of going out of control. She thought it was a coincidence. But now not only did this meditation not help, the 7 stars that were acting strangely came back to life and became more and more intense. Not only that, the inner strength was also rushing everywhere in her body like a raging river. After a while, her breathing quickened again. I say, are we still dreaming? Is this still an illusion? Why don't you try to hypnotize me again? Why don't you try to deny it? Looking at Miss Wen, who ran over again, Qin Guang had a smug smile on his face. There was no other way. Her charm was just so great. You can't resist it at all. Your waist is not good. I'll move. This time both of them were awake. Suppressed moans reverberated above the jade hook pond. The 7 stars that were acting strangely finally settled down again. As the impact in the depths of Miss Wen's mind grew higher and higher, it got closer and closer. Finally, she almost couldn't suppress her voice anymore and almost screamed. As expected of the powerful sect leader Wen, she actually clenched her fists and burst forth with inner strength, forcefully using inner strength to replace the howl that almost tore her throat. The terrifying inner strength swept over the hooked jade pond, bringing with it a violent wave. The storm rose again, and even the nearby hanging or standing fluorescent stones that were like stalactites were smashed apart. A stalactite as thick as a thigh fell vertically above the two of them. In a low moan, Qin Guang, who was at the peak of his happiness, saw the stalactite behind Wenwen in a daze. He opened his mouth and was about to cry out in surprise. But 2 streams of energy that could be seen with the naked eye surged out from her shoulders. They spiraled upwards and actually smashed the stone pillar into powder on the spot. Specks of green fluorescence instantly filled the sky, causing the underground karst cave where the jade hook pool was located to instantly brighten up. It was a beautiful sight. Wenwen let out a long sigh of relief in her heart. That strange 7 stars had finally disappeared. That's not right. Strictly speaking, it hadn't disappeared. Instead, during the process of the 2 fighting just now, the 7 stars had continuously gathered together. Finally, when she ascended to the clouds, the 7 stars had merged into one. Chapter 760. Qin Guang laid on the side and really didn't want to say a single word. Although he basically laid flat on the floor and pretended to be dead for the latter half of the battle, but just by watching her sit there and move up and down. Cough cough. Anyway, this matter can't be recalled too much, it can only be understood and not explained. Just watching was already tiring enough, not to mention that Sovereign didn't control his strength well at times. Anyway, his waist was still quite sore and his little butt was also bruised from hitting the rocks on the shore of the Jade Hook Pond. It's not that my army isn't strong enough, it's all because the enemy is too valiant. Luckily the old man had the strongest pile driver in history. Although his waist was sore from the battle, the old man didn't lose his face as a man. He still had a heroic spirit. But at this moment, Wenwen's condition, who was sitting cross-legged and naked at the side, was rather worrying. He didn't know if she had recovered from her qi deviation. So practicing martial arts wasn't entirely a good thing. The greater the ability, the higher the risk. Looking at how awe-inspiring Wenwen usually was outside, this qi deviation was really quite scary. Luckily she had the old man as her bestie. Luckily there was a good man like the old man who could support the heavens and earth. At this critical moment where her life was on the line, he could descend from the sky and turn the tide, saving her from danger. No matter what nonsense Qin Guang's thoughts were running wild in his mind, or how that vulgar gaze was wandering around her body, Wenwen didn't have the mood to bother about it. She was dumbstruck by the huge ball of air that was condensed from the 7 stars united in her dantian. The more she concentrated, the deeper her inner vision went and the stranger she felt. When her entire mind was immersed in it, she seemed to vaguely see a human figure floating in her dantian. That's right, the ball of air that was formed after the 7 stars united was actually like a little person. His own qi of inner strength lingered around the little man like a cloud. From time to time, it would be passively absorbed by the little man. At the same time, the little man would spit out his inner strength. Although she could not detect any changes in a short period of time, Wenwen was certain that if this little person were to absorb and spit it out, her inner strength would definitely become more condensed. In other words, her inner strength would continue to slowly increase. How was this possible? There was no reason for this at all. I'm not even at the level where I can cultivate this thing. Also, was this actually true? Wasn't this the fantasy of the ancient people in the legends? In ancient legends, it was said that there was a realm of experts who had reached the great accomplishment realm. Their inner strength was like a substance and they could almost take human form. This inner strength condensed in the dantian was similar to the person who practiced martial arts, like a miniature version of themselves. This little person had no muscles or bones, but there were tendons and veins inside. The inner strength could continuously circulate in the little person's body, whether it was wearing clothes, eating, walking, or sleeping. It was constantly helping the martial artist improve their inner strength. If the martial artist deliberately meditated, the small circulation in the little person could resonate with the large circulation in the external body. This could greatly increase the speed of the martial artist's inner strength cultivation. This little person was also known as human transformation in the records. It meant that the martial artist's inner strength had transformed into himself. According to the legends, only martial artists who were close to breaking through the void and had reached the pinnacle of strength could condense this so-called human transformation by chance. Of course, it was later proven that this so-called human transformation did not exist at all. It was a helpless fantasy of some of the strong in the ancient times when they could not see any hope of advancing further. They pinned their hopes on this illusory thing and were unwilling to give up the struggle even when they died. However, in the 5,000 years of China's history, there had never been any recorded existence of a martial artist who had successfully cultivated human transformation, nor had there ever been such an absurd thing as breaking through the void. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, they were still human when they reached the pinnacle. They could not become immortals or gods. Legends could only remain legends in the end. There was no record or proof of it becoming reality. Gradually, no one really believed this and only treated it as a fairy tale. Although Wenwen knew about the legend of human transformation and her own strength had improved by leaps and bounds, she had never had extravagant hopes for it. But she had inexplicably succeeded in cultivating it. What exactly is going on with me? What is that 7 stars that inexplicably appeared in my dantian? What does that 7 stars have to do with Qin Guang? Why did I lose control of myself every time he approached me? Why did the 7 stars inexplicably move yesterday? After we were done, how did the 7 stars condense into human transformation? There were many questions hidden in her heart that she could not find an answer to. Once again they surfaced in her heart. But just like before, she still could not figure it out. There was no mention of such a phenomenon in the notes left behind by the ancestors of the Wen clan's cultivation painting scroll. Wenwen's heart was filled with 100,000 whys. But no matter what, the human transformation had already been achieved. This ironclad fact proved that the ancient legends were not empty words. Perhaps a peerless expert with unprecedented strength had just barely touched this step and sensed the existence of the human transformation realm. That was how he came to this conclusion. Unfortunately, that great expert ultimately failed at the last step, so the human transformation realm remained a legend. But now, I made the human transformation realm a reality. It was truly inconceivable. Wenwen could not describe her feelings. Perhaps she was a little proud. After all, she had accomplished something that no one had done before. But she was also very perplexed. Her subconscious told her that this was definitely related to Qinguang, but she could not figure it out no matter how she thought about it. Other than that, what she felt the most was fear and reluctance. Achieving the human transformation realm probably meant that she was about to shatter the void. Although she did not know when it would happen, as long as she did not die in an accident, this was probably an outcome that she could not defy. Either die or shatter the void. It might be tomorrow or it might be many years later. If I really leave this world, no matter what method I use, it would be better if I die or shatter the void. But what about this guy? He would probably die of sadness, right? Wenwen turned her head and looked at Qinguang, who was lying on the ground. She did not know when he had fallen into a deep sleep. Her heart was filled with mixed feelings. She slowly got up and tried to take a few quick steps by the side of the Magatama pond. She even stepped on the water and jogged a circle on the surface of the water. Compared to walking on the waves before, she really felt much more agile when she stepped on the water now. It was as if she was floating in the air like a fairy. Thinking of the human transformation in her dantian, she was once again sure that she was going to shatter the void. She floated down to Qinguang's side, feeling lost. Regarding her relationship with Qinguang, she also felt that it was extremely inconceivable. When she first saw him more than 3 years ago, she did not know why, but she felt that he was exceptionally pleasing to the eye at first glance. Later, she would occasionally think of this question. Why was that? She felt that it was inconceivable. Two people who were supposed to live in completely different worlds, with two different views on life and the world. Two people who saw, heard, and interacted with completely different people. Why did they become such important friends just because they liked the same game? Was it love at first sight? Wenwen understood that it was impossible. She was not an impulsive and blind woman, and Qinguang did not have such a strong charm. Love at first sight was completely impossible. When she was with Qinguang, she did not have the strong feelings of liking him. She just felt very relaxed and happy. She did not need to be on guard when she was with him. That was all. Even when she first had a relationship with him at that time, Wenwen thought that she was going to die anyway. Anyway, this guy was always thinking about it and she had never tried it anyway. Anyway, she had promised him the bet. Since she was going to honor it, what did it matter if she honored it a little more this time? What was the harm in trying to die later? What was even more amazing was that even after something had happened when she faced him, it was still difficult for her to bring up the shyness between a man and a woman. It seemed to be different from the past, but it also seemed that nothing had changed. So be it. There was no need to figure out what kind of feelings she had and what he was thinking in his heart. Not every kind of relationship in the world needed to be accurately defined. It was not bad to maintain this way. But today she finally understood. This was not love at first sight, but the relationship between her and Qinguang was far more than simple love. This was simply the drive of fate. Otherwise, how could she explain that with her character and hobbies, she had originally planned to spend 4 years in university peacefully? Originally, she just wanted to experience the life of ordinary young people from the perspective of a bystander, but she just felt that Qinguang was very pleasing to the eye. How could she explain that this guy obviously had nothing, but she just felt that he was pleasing to the eye? The most inexplicable thing was that she was clearly poisoned by the fire poison and was bound to die. After making love with this guy, the poison was detoxified, her internal injuries were inexplicably healed, and there was an inexplicable 7 stars alignment in her dantian. This time it was even more ridiculous. The 7 stars alignment became 1, and she became the first martial artist in the world who had the ability to transform into a human. All of this seemed to be a coincidence, but in fact it was simply fate. Even if she did not know the reason, It must be related to Qin Guang. Wen stared blankly at Qin Guang, who was sleeping soundly, and thought to herself, this guy, could it be that you are the reincarnation of Tang Xing? You are simply a miraculous elixir, the strongest dual cultivation partner in history. The first time he gave me the 7 stars, the second time he transformed into a human, and the third time wouldn't I become an immortal? Sigh, but the problem was that this guy had a handle on me this time. When he wakes up with this guy's personality, he will definitely want more. What should I do? Logically speaking, I should go along with him. As long as I don't cause too much trouble, this matter is actually quite interesting and also quite comfortable. Wenwen's face was red and her heart was beating fast. But I don't have much time left in this world. If I first feed him and then I break through the void, I really don't know how sad he will be. Since we are going to separate sooner or later, I might as well let him give up earlier. Wen made a decision in her heart. After sleeping for an unknown period of time, Qin Guang slowly opened his eyes. He was no longer lying on the ground but was sleeping on a warm jade bed. Not far from him was Go Yuqi, and he was wearing a set of martial attire that belonged to an unknown person. As for Wen, she was neatly dressed and was sitting cross-legged at the side, meditating. Qin Guang turned his head to look. The hole on the top of his head had not been repaired, and the rays of the morning sun were shining in through the hole, reflecting on the karst cave. It was extremely beautiful. Chapter 761. You're awake. Wen turned around and smiled at him. Qin Guang shook his head. Yes, but I'm tired. How is it? Are you still possessed by the devil? Yesterday. Wen interrupted him. I'm fine now. How was yesterday? Thank you. What are you thanking me for? We're friends. It's just a small thing. Qin Guang's tone involuntarily revealed a sense of warmth. After all, the scene of last night was still vivid in his mind. He was not being complacent. Now that their relationship had been established, it was time for him to change a little. Unexpectedly, Wenwen's face did not change at all after hearing that. She still smiled faintly. I should thank you. If it weren't for you, I would have been dead yesterday. By the way, since you've rested enough, come up with me. I've prepared something for you. Qin Guang subconsciously felt that Wenwen's reaction was a little strange, but he did not think much about it. He thought that she might be thin-skinned and didn't want to lose face. When the two came out of the Magatama pond, they saw 5 or 6 old people busy outside. On the ground beside them were cement, granite slabs and steel bars, probably to repair the hole in the pond. Why are all the old people doing the work? Qin Guang asked. Wen bowed to greet these old people first, then turned around and explained, these are the elders of the clan. The patriarch's residence is an important place in the clan, and ordinary people are not allowed to approach it. Although the elders look old, they are actually skin-strength warriors. To them, the work of a bricklayer is not as good as the usual morning exercise. I see. When Qin Guang saw this bunch of amiable old men getting busy, he realized that they weren't like those old men that had one foot in the grave. On the contrary, they were all brimming with energy. By the way, I have a question. Speak. Qin Guang seemed to want to say something but stopped. Why do I seem to get no benefit at all? Wen turned her face away slightly. She blushed a little, but she quickly regained her cool appearance. Am I not going to give you something good? The medicinal ingredients I prepared for you are enough for you to use for several years. What other benefits do you want? That's not what I meant. Have you seen that? The deer in the cauldron? Isn't that the part where Wei Xiaobao and the divine dragon cult's holy maiden do something? But why don't I feel any changes? Wen turned around and patted Qin Guang's shoulder. Young man, wake up. That's a movie. Everyone's internal energy can only be trained by themselves. Moreover, even if I could really pass on my skills to you with your current physique. As Wen spoke, she pinched Qin Guang's shoulder and swallowed the words that she was about to say. She cursed in her heart. How come this guy's arm has inexplicably become stronger after not seeing him for a while? If it was just an ordinary increase in strength, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, his root bone actually improved as well. This was simply unbelievable. What's wrong with my physique? Wen rolled her eyes and patted his stomach. The dantian at the waist is the source of internal energy. Your waist and abdomen are weak now. If you really had to bear half of my internal energy, you would definitely explode. All right. The two walked to the hall and saw that the floor was filled with boxes. Wenwen waved the others away and patted the boxes. Then she signaled Qin Guang to sit with her on the armchair next to her. She said in a low voice, "This is your reward. It's enough for you to complete the foundation of the entire painting volume. If you really have the talent to practice martial arts, you can definitely rely on these medicinal ingredients to become a real martial artist." Wait, did I hear it wrong? Reward? I don't like what you're saying. Don't joke around. Be normal. I'm not joking with you. This is your reward for last night. Overnight fee? If you want to understand it that way, there's no problem. Wenwen still kept a straight face and was very serious. If this batch of medicinal ingredients were to be sold outside, it would probably be worth no less than a few hundred million USD. Moreover, there's a price but no supply. So I worked hard for a night, and I received the most expensive overnight fee in the history of painting. You can say that. Qin Guang glared at him. Can you be more normal? Wake up. Wenwen still did not change her expression. I'm very normal now. I'm very sober. I know you're not short of money now, but these medicinal ingredients can't be bought with money. They're priceless treasures. Qin Guang was shocked. He turned his head and looked at her. So you want me to say thank you? Thank you for your patronage? He really wanted to flip out. What kind of attitude is this? What do you mean? What do you think the old man is? The world's most expensive Kata duck? Can you not be so melodramatic? Can you stop messing around? Although I wanted to ask for medicinal ingredients from you before, you're giving it to me like this. What kind of joke is this? Qin Guang looked like he had been wronged. Wenwen turned her face to the other side. The corner of her mouth twitched. She almost laughed out loud. However, she suppressed it in the end. I know you might be a little angry now, but I've changed. Qin Guang frowned. What do you mean? Wenwen suddenly stood up. Her feet moved without any wind. Her whole body actually floated into the air. She floated around the hall before slowly landing on the ground. Do you see? I'm no longer who I used to be and I can never go back. As Wenwen spoke, she still maintained a cold expression on her face. Qin Guang looked at it and his brows furrowed even more. As it's just as you think. In this period of time I've killed too many people. The advancement of my martial arts has far exceeded the endurance of my state of mind. I admit that I should like you and want to be with you. However, my heart is very complicated right now. Do you understand? I know that I like you, but my heart just can't stir up any waves. My heart is as tranquil as a pool of water that has been sealed in ice. I thought about it just now. Perhaps it's because I'm too strong now. I'm gradually feeling like I don't belong to this world. This isn't my original intention. Coldness isn't my true feelings either. However, I can't control my feelings. Please forgive me. Wenwen's tone was so calm that it made people's hearts go cold. She was clearly saying very emotional words, but she really didn't reveal any of her emotions. She looked at Qin Guang as if she was looking at a stranger. Qin Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought to himself, I'm done for. As expected, practicing martial arts wasn't safe. A high level of martial arts could change one's personality? That's not right. The Ouyang Feng in the novels, didn't he train until he became a madman? To put it another way, before this damn sissy Lin Pingji practiced the Bixia swordplay, wasn't he also a gentleman? Wasn't this the effect of the Bixia swordplay? The old golden god didn't lie to me. Practicing martial arts really can cause problems. I don't believe it. Qin Guang's mouth was like a dead duck's. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. In any case, I've already explained it to you. Wenwen stood in front of Qin Guang with her hands behind her back. She raised her head and looked out the window. It was unknown what she was thinking. Qin Guang reached out his hands. His hands moved like snakes from behind her to her front. He fiercely pinched her chest and slightly squeezed. Even like this, there's still no movement? As he asked, he turned in front of Wenwen and looked at her face. My God, big sister, your heart is really as calm as water. Even like this, there's still no movement? He didn't believe it and tried to squeeze harder, but Miss Wen was still as cold as ice. Sect Master Wen's long robe fluttered. His face was filled with a holy and cold expression. His voice didn't tremble at all. Don't waste your effort. I really don't feel anything. Letting go, Qin Guang took a step back. Holy shit, did she just abandon me after using me? There's no reason. Clearly, this old man's performance yesterday was so strong. Shouldn't you have tasted the bitter fruit and cherished this old man? On earth, besides the old man, who else can deal with you? How can you be so heartless? But if I want to try again later, I'll find you again. You don't need the herbs for now. Next time I'll give you the money. You win. Although the Wen family is a martial arts aristocratic family, we also have many secular businesses. We can still take out 100 million in cash. That's a lot. Let me think. Wait, it's still not enough. This is too embarrassing. Wen continued. Then let's not meet in the future. I feel offended that you're talking to me like this. I'm worried that I'll slap you to death. I know this isn't right, but emotionally it doesn't seem to matter. It doesn't matter. You're sick. You have to cure it. Stop it. It can't be cured. Just leave it be. No. What do you mean just leave it be? I think it's not harmonious, alright? I know what you're worried about. I understand the thoughts of you men. Don't worry, I only have you. There won't be anyone else. I don't need anyone else. Seeing that Qin Guang was getting more and more anxious, Wenwen's heart softened and her words softened. Of course. Qin Guang glared. I'll send whoever dares to snatch you from me to heaven, alright? Also, I wasn't joking when I said that we don't meet. I'm serious. I have my reasons. I know what you're talking about. Are you going to fight to the death with the poison sect and the dark sect soon? Wenwen's expression suddenly changed. How did you know? I guessed it. Wenwen was speechless. At this point, if Qin Guang still could not tell that Wenwen was acting, he would have wasted his reputation as a world-class best actor. That's right. I was wondering why you were acting so deep when you had nothing better to do. So this is what you're worried about? Sai, you should have said so earlier. Just say it if you're afraid of dragging me down. Qin Guang immediately thought that he had seen through Wenwen's thoughts and could not help but find it extremely funny. Her worries were completely unnecessary. He was no longer the person he used to be. As the director of the Guangdong General Administration and a deputy minister of the country, although he did not have an army under him, with the addition of many martial artists who had defected, the Guangdong General Administration could be said to have a strong army. If he needed fighters, he could easily pull out 30 to 50 people. More importantly, he had already completed more than half of the special training of his muscles. Once his body was fully developed, he would immediately start practicing the painting manual. He could level up 3 levels in a minute and become the Condor heroes with her, alright? However, he did not say anything else. Qin Guang also understood Wenwen's character. It was useless for him to say anything at this point. However, it did not matter. She would not listen to him anyway. Forget it. Since you want to act, I'll cooperate with you. Alright, you have the final say. It's good that you understand. Give me an address. I'll get someone to send the herbs over. Wenwen was slightly surprised. She thought that Qin Guang would be a little awkward and say that he wanted to live and die with her. In the end, he accepted his fate so readily. This was not like him. However, Qin Guang was calculating in his heart. He did not spend much time in the world in the cup these few days, so he had saved up quite a lot of faith points. He pinched his fingers and calculated that when he went back he could use up more than 1 million faith points for 2 deluxe editions. What? Someone said that the beggar edition only costs 600,000? I'm sorry, the wind is too strong, I can't hear it clearly. Don't mention the unlucky beggar edition. I'm really scared, alright? He nodded. Alright, then I'll accept your herbs. In order to cooperate with Wenwen's acting, he deliberately added a sense of disappointment in his tone. Wenwen sighed in her heart. She did not expect Qin Guang to accept his fate so quickly. She felt a little relieved but also a little disappointed. When Qin Guang told Wenwen the address of Tianguang broker, Wenwen wanted to ask him to leave. The longer she acted, the more afraid she was of exposing herself. She did not want Qin Guang to see the reluctance and longing in the depths of her heart. If it was possible, she wanted to be like any other girl and stay with him for a long time. However, when she thought of the human transformation in her dantian and the legend of breaking through the void, the two of them would be separated sooner or later. She felt that she had to make Qin Guang give up completely. As for the possibility that Qin Guang could also turn into a human and reach the realm of breaking through the void, Wenwen did not dare to hope for it. She was the first in history. How could there be a second one? She opened her mouth slightly and said, then, Qin Guang stopped her. I thought about it. I'm a little short of money recently. What do you mean? Wenwen frowned slightly. Can you let me earn 1 billion first? Qin Guang knew that she was acting, so he deliberately teased her. Wenwen's heart was slightly warm. Thinking of the feeling yesterday, she was really tempted. Yesterday was different from the last time. Although she was completely awake both times, the last time was when she thought she was going to die. Although she was in the same dangerous situation yesterday, as the 7 stars became more and more stable, she also forgot about the problem of cultivation and became an ordinary person. Another day. I'll come to you. I'm not in the mood today. In the end, Wenwen rejected his proposal. Finally seeing Qin Guang off, Wenwen stood under the memorial arch of the Wenzong Pavilion and watched him gradually disappear on the long chain bridge. Sect Master, why did you treat the son-in-law like this? The old woman with a cane from before quietly appeared behind Wenwen. Wenwen turned around. Fourth grandmother, have you heard of the human transformation? Fourth grandmother was shocked. Don't tell me, Wenwen nodded. That's right. I've cultivated the human transformation. Fourth grandmother staggered backward. How is this possible? Wenwen seemed proud and helpless at the same time. Although I feel that it's unbelievable, it's the truth. But the human transformation doesn't exist. As one of the elders of the Wen family, fourth grandmother was experienced and knowledgeable. She was familiar with the ancient books, but she didn't dare to believe Wenwen's words. After being stunned for a long time, fourth grandmother said again, Sect Master, why don't you carefully meditate again? Are you sure it's true? Wenwen nodded. This time I will enter seclusion. I must see the human transformation clearly. A day later, Wenwen sat on the jade platform in the center of the Magatama pond with a blank face. Her mind was simply filled with 100,000 whys. What the hell? What happened? This human transformation looked exactly like Qin Guang. That baldy, that cheeky expression, it was simply, in other words, there was a little Qin Guang living in her stomach. Oh my god. Crazy. What was going on? What should he do now? Why was that? Could it be that I'm pregnant? Pregnant with Qin Guang? Crazy. Completely insane. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.